Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chasing Labels or Spine Number of Chasing Labels. Now, this is, I guess you could say, a holiday episode because this is being recorded on December 22nd. So, this is Spine Number 180, episode number 180. As you can see, if you're watching here on YouTube, I'm trying to be festive. I got my Santa Claus hat on for those of you listening in the audio realm. So let me make sure that I'm actually in frame. Also, I don't know how long this hat's gonna last because I don't know how long the headphones are gonna be able to hold on for dear life. And also, I don't know how hot I'm gonna get by having this hat on. But happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. Hopefully, it's going well for you. If you don't celebrate any holiday at all, hopefully things are going well for you in general. Um, so regardless of where you are, what your status is in the world, however you treat this time of year, hopefully things are going well for you. But it is the officially the last episode of the calendar year because the next time we have an episode, we will be in the new year. Of course, we will be doing a couple of things before the end of the year here on Chasing Labels. We just had another episode of Movies Down Memory Lane that just happened this past Saturday. Those of you, please check that out if you haven't already. We talked about the movie About Time. The is it Richard Curtis? Yes. Maybe not Richard Curtis. But we talked about the movie About Time, the movie starring Donald Gleason and Rachel McAdams. Bill Nighy's in the film. It's a movie that's heavily emotional. It's definitely a heavily emotional film for this time of year. But it is Richard Curtis. I was right. I don't know why that name sounded odd to me in the moment. But we talked about that movie this past weekend, so check that episode out if you haven't already, if you're interested. We will be having one more episode of the Unwatched Pile right before the end of the year. I think we will be doing it next Tuesday, which is January 30th. So that will be our next episode of the Unwatched Pile. And in that episode, the tentative plans are going to be to obviously pick out a movie that we haven't seen that's in our unwatched pile, talk about it, pair it up with something else, and then we're probably going to be talking about our favorite new movies of the year. Movies that, of course, been at the movie theater. Obviously, many of them have come out on physical media already. They're available sometime on streaming, on digital rental, or digital purchase, whatever the case may be. Um, we'll be talking about that then. That is the plan. And then that will kind of wrap up the calendar year for Chasing Labels. But in the new year, of course, we will continue with what we do here in general. But um, it's so far, it's been an interesting kind of end of the year when it comes to announcements. I didn't think we were going to have a lot to talk about this week. It wasn't looking that way. But then I started making up the list of notes. And it ended up being a lot more than I expected. So you'll see what we get into here. The goal is ever to make sure the episode doesn't go longer than 4 hours. I'm trying to keep it under 4 hours, but I never achieve that goal. At least not most of the time. But before we get into everything that we get into here. If you're joining me here for the first time, welcome. If you're a returning viewer or listener, welcome back as well. For those of you who don't know what we do here on Chasing Labels, basically we go over some of, not all of the announcements in the boutique world of home video for the last 2-week period or so. And it's not everything, like I said, it's only mostly things that I'm interested in adding to my collection eventually, or things that you may want to add to your collection, or things I just find interesting in general that I think people may want to know about. It's usually the same type of companies and labels over and over again, but hey, at least they're consistent. I would rather get consistent stuff from the same people than nothing at all, because who knows when that day will ever come. But we do have some comments here already in the chat. We got one from Adam Schofield 6398. Happy Christmas, Andrew. Happy Christmas to you, Adam. We have another one from Adam Schofield. Been in some shanky watch parties so far this season. Interesting. And then another one from Adam. But we're nice for the chat. Oh yeah, of course. The camaraderie of watching a movie with people is something you can't quite explain sometimes. I mean, hopefully no arguments erupt over certain things. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But before we get into the announcements in the boutique world, a couple of things to go over a little bit here. One, of course, I have to mention this. It's very somber, very saddening, very tragic, very just awful in general. The great, I would dare say, legendary actor, writer, director, filmmaker, just overall fascinating person in general. Rob Reiner, unfortunately, passed away recently. And of course, if you've been around movies for the last several decades, it's hard not to be exposed to Rob Reiner's work because he's been so multifaceted in so many areas over the last, what, 5, 6 decades? I mean, just going back, I think, to the 1970s. My introduction to Rob Reiner was his acting in the sitcom All in the Family, uh, that which aired primarily in the 1970s. I think pretty much entirely through the 1970s, and it's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. I think it's one of the best shows of all time, and he was integral to the success of that show. And then, of course, he went on to do a directing and filmmaking career and writing career, and yeah, just a tragic, tragic loss. I have, of course, people I've mentioned here many times. I have various sections within my collection, and of course, I've always had a Rob Reiner section. And my Rob Reiner section, of course, going over it rather quickly here, as my headphones fall off the top of my head. Of course, I talked about this recently. This is Spinal Tap. We did a whole review of this edition here of Spinal Tap, put out by Criterion recently. Criterion's had this in their collection for, oh goodness, over 25 years. I think actually maybe since the Laserdisc days. I know they had it on Laserdisc, they had it on DVD, they had it on Blu-ray, actually Blu-ray 4K now. So of course, this was actually his first film that he ever directed. Was This Is Spinal Tap? Great, great film. I've owned it so many times. I've owned it so many times. I've had it. Let me see. I've got the old Blu-ray DVD here. Yep, I've owned it on DVD. I've owned it on Blu-ray. I've owned it on 4K. It's a movie that I think is a must for every collection. This is Spinal Tap. Truly extraordinary movie. And then this movie is called The Sure Thing. Now this has a Blu-ray release. It actually has two Blu-ray releases. They're pretty much the same edition. But I have the old DVD that I bought used years ago of The Sure Thing, starring John Cusack and Daphne Zuniga. And this is great kind of road coming of age movie starring John Cusack from the 1980s. I believe it's Rob Reiner's second film that he ever directed. I've got to get the Blu-ray of this. Like I said, I've got an old $6 DVD that I bought many, many years ago. And I think the Blu-ray comes with all of the special features. Unfortunately, I heard the Blu-ray does not look very good, which is unfortunate for me. It's really, yeah, I think it's kind of an underrated movie. I've always really liked it. Next up here, of course, the all-time classic Stand By Me. I have the old Blu-ray here, put out by Sony. Sony put this out on 4K a couple of years ago, and I hear the 4K looks fantastic. This is one I've got to upgrade. This is an all-time, talk about coming-of-age film, all-time classic. This is an adaptation of the Stephen King short story called The Body, which I've actually read. I read it within the last year. Actually, I read it this year. And yeah, this movie stars Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, Kiefer Sutherland. Just a really all-time great movie. Probably one of the best movies I would say of the 1980s. Certainly certainly I think it may be the best Stephen King adaptation. I'm just off the top of my head. This may be the best Stephen King adaptation. At least it's amongst everybody's favorites. Speaking of Stephen King adaptations, we're going to have another one here. But before then, there's another book adaptation. That is The Princess Bride. Now, this is a movie that's been re-released on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K several times. Specifically, the Blu-ray was released at least 2 or 3 times. I've got the old Blu-ray here, and I've got the Criterion Blu-ray as well. There is a Criterion 4K of this, but I have not upgraded it yet. Will I do so in the future? Perhaps, but this Blu-ray looks pretty darn fantastic, I would say. And of course, 4K is going to come with all of the same special features as this Blu-ray. I love this packaging. The digibook style packaging is something I've always liked. I've always been a big fan of books in general. My first passion when it comes to collecting has been books. So combining my two passions is collecting movies and collecting books into one has always been a winner for me. But The Princess Bride, all-time classic, starring Carrie Elways, as well as so many others. Who else is in this movie? Chris Sarandon, Fred Savage, Peter Falk, Andre the Giant. I remember is in the movie as well. Um, why can't I remember who played Buttercup? Robin Wright. Robin Wright played Buttercup. Yes. So you've got The Princess Bride, all time classics, and then you have, speaking of another all time classic. Goodness gracious, you've got When Harry Met Sally. Now this is the Shout Select Edition. Yeah, this is Shout Select Edition, Blu-ray number 59. I bought this years ago at Best Buy, of all places, back when Best Buy used to sell movies, which is crazy that I have to say that because that was literally the place I bought hundreds of movies at. Hundreds. DVDs, Blu-rays. Um, yeah, and then now nothing. But this is the, you know, one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time in When Harry Met Sally, Billy Crystal, Meg Ryan. The movie still holds up, I think, to this day. Great screenplay by Nora Ephron. Yet again, another Rob Reiner great film. He made such great movies. His run from the mid 80s all the way up to, I would say, A Few Good Men. So you'd say mid 80s to mid 90s is really unbeatable. It's really fantastic. And another one part of that run is Misery, another Stephen King adaptation. And this is coincidentally something I also read the source material of this year as well. And this movie was written by William Goldman. Great adaptation of Misery. Is it a one-for-one adaptation? No, now that I've read the source material is much darker, actually. If you think this movie is dark, go read Stephen King's like original works for some of his adaptations. They're much, much darker. And yeah, this of course stars James Caan, Kathy Bates. Yeah, really great movie. And this is a really loaded release, stacked release. Now, this is also available on 4K from Kino. I believe it's still in print. And I have to check to see if all of the special features on here are also on that release. But if you only have this release, you still get a wealth of special features for Misery. And then I have the old Blu-ray of A Few Good Men. I've had this in my collection for probably 15 years. I think this is an essential film for everyone's collection because it is so, so good. Written by Aaron Sorkin, obviously directed by Rob Reiner, but it stars Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore's in the film as well. And this has that most iconic scene, you can't handle the truth, all of that. But great screenplay, great acting, great film. And for me, one of the best movies of the 90s. Really one of the best movies of the 90s. There's a Blu-ray of this put out by Sony as well that I hear also looks fantastic. So I've got to get that too because this is an older Blu-ray. This must be from 2007. This Blu-ray's from 2007. So you need to get an upgrade for A Few Good Men. And then for me, that's kind of where my Rob Reiner collection ends a bit. I don't have anything past A Few Good Men because I think his career kind of tapered off a little bit after that. So I've got to get some other things. I have one coming in the mail, The American President, which is also really, really good. I saw that movie about 15 years ago, and I've always wanted to get the Blu-ray. I've had it in my Amazon cart, to buy later for, oh goodness, since like 2012, 2013. So that's finally coming. Coincidentally, I think that's going to arrive on Christmas Eve of all times. And so that's a kind of appropriate. You get the gift of Rob Reiner on Christmas. That's really nice. But I also did end up getting his most recent film, and unfortunately, which will be his last movie, and that is the sequel to Spinal Tap, which is Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. Now, I bought this a 4K Steelbook. There is a regular Blu-ray and there's a 4K Steelbook that's put out by I believe Decal Releasing. And the main difference, obviously, other than one being the 4K and one being the Blu-ray, is the 4K, I believe, comes with deleted scenes and the Blu-ray comes with no special features at all, which is unfortunate. And I've been seeing that happening a lot recently where certain companies are only putting special features on the 4K release, which is not a good sign of things. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that we're already having to choose between getting a 4K release or getting a Blu-ray release because they're not doing combination releases that much anymore. At least some mainstream studios are not. Even boutique label studios, Arrow doesn't do combination Blu-ray and 4K release. They haven't done them for what, 2 years now, something like that. So I'm really not a big fan of that at all. I want to get everything all in one package. Have one complete release of it. So if you're interested in getting Rob Reiner's unfortunate final film because of his tragic passing, the 4K, at least this 4K here in the region A land, is put out by I think Decal Releasing. I should probably check up on that. Yeah, I think it's Decal Releasing. Yeah, it is. I see their logo here at the bottom, and it comes with a special feature. It comes with deleted scenes. So that's kind of the only feature. So I got that here. Those of you who are interested, there is artwork on the inside, and of course the one disc here. No digital copy for it. That's another thing. This doesn't have a digital copy. I don't think the Blu-ray does either. But anywho, I wanted to pay a little bit of tribute to Rob Reiner, who has been honestly, Rob Reiner has been part of my entertainment viewing life forever. I mean, literally since I was a kid. Like I said, I started watching reruns of All in the Family on TV Land in the 90s. And that was where I first was exposed to Rob Reiner. So and I was elementary school aged. And then, of course, later on, I would go on to watch his directed films and all of that. So really an incredible sad and tragic loss all the way around. But let's look into some more positive things here. A little, movie collection update. Let's go with the movie collection update, shall we? Before we get into things, because I am moving a little slow today. It's kind of a chill, more relaxed episode here for Chasing Labels this week. Usually we take actually a break here towards the end of the year, so usually we don't do an episode this late into the year. But I was just gonna power right through it. I've been in such a rhythm, every 2 weeks or every other week, do an episode of Chasing Labels, prepare. So I just wanted to keep preparing as if I was going to do an episode anyway. I didn't want to get behind because when the new year comes, that episode would have been just massively long. But like I said, movie collection updates, some things that I got here recently. I only ended up getting one thing during the Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday sale. And the one thing I got is actually not even a Vinegar Syndrome release. And this is the double feature of Violent Cop and Boiling Point. This is the Takeshi Kitano double feature. I believe these are two films that he directed. Let me see. Yep, directed by Takeshi Kitano. Yeah, this is a film movement release. And I picked this up because it was the numbers for limited edition were slowly dwindling down, and I wanted to, of course, get it with the limited edition slipcover beforehand because I like the artwork. Plus, these slipcovers are great. So this is kind of the only thing I got. So I thought I would show that off here. Two great movies, by the way. Especially Violent Cop. Violent Cop is really, really good. And yeah, let me see some other stuff. So I find this is actually one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and it just came in. I bought it from moviezing.com because Amazon was having it on back order and all kinds of stuff. So I wanted to get it before the holiday, and this is an early, I guess you could say early Christmas present for me. This is the Tom and Jerry, The Golden Era Anthology 1940 to 1958, put out by Warner Archive. This is 114 shorts here that were in the theater back in the 1940s and 1950s of Tom and Jerry. I grew up watching all the classic cartoons, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry. I've made mention of my love for Hanna-Barbera with, Yogi Bear and Scooby-Doo and all that kind of stuff, and the Jetsons and the Flintstones. That is all part of my childhood. So as I've started collecting things over the years, I wanted to get as much of, if not everything I could of my cartoon love from when I was a kid. So this is a big time release, probably one of their best of the year. This, along with their Looney Tunes things they've been putting out lately, of course, with a bunch of Hanna-Barbera stuff they put out this year, and so much good stuff. Huckleberry Hound. They put out a big complete series Huckleberry Hound set that looks absolutely fantastic. That's another one I've got to get. But this is Tom and Jerry: The Golden Era Anthology, 1940s, 1958. Super glad to get this in the collection. I have not owned Tom and Jerry on, I haven't owned anything Tom and Jerry since the VHS days. I had their movie, I had some of their cartoons when I was a kid, but nothing on DVD, nothing on Blu-ray until now. So that's awesome. Um, okay, something that's still wrapped in plastic. Is this is the Dogma 4K release from Umbrella. So there's two different releases of this. If you remember us talking here on Chasing Labels about it, there's the Lionsgate release, which they've done like a regular blue 4K, which you can buy in store. I believe there is an exclusive steelbook that I think you can only buy from Lionsgate Limited. And then there is the Umbrella release. So with the Umbrella release is they announced this first. They put it up for pre-order on their website. Their big old collector's editions with T-shirts and posters and books and all kinds of stuff. And then they took that one down immediately because if you're in Region A land, United States, like myself, that one wasn't available to ship to you. They blocked it from your IP address on your internet. So you can't even view it on their website. So you kind of have to force yourself to buy the Lionsgate, or you do what I did and you go to our good friends over at Orbit DVD and you buy the Umbrella release when they get their allotment in stock, which is what I did immediately. Now I still have this wrapped in plastic, as you can tell, so I haven't opened it yet to check out the picture quality, to check out the audio, check out the special features. And that's another reason why I wanted to get this release. This release has everything from the Lionsgate release, plus a couple of more special features. So if you're not able to get the big old collector's editions, which you can, if you go onto eBay, you can still get it, but it's like, eBay third-party expensive prices. But if you just want the on-disc content, this is the edition you want to go with from Umbrella. Yeah, like I said, tons of special features here on the back. All of that is special features. This is something that I've wanted, hoping that they would do for the longest time. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith. I've always have been. He's been a big inspiration to me for many, many years. I actually have the old Dogma DVD and the old Dogma Blu-ray as well. So I was all set. When those things started to go for super duper prices on eBay, I was all set. I already had it because that used to be in bargain bins all the time. So that is Dogma from Umbrella. Next up, here's another one still wrapped in plastic, and this is another Warner Archive release, and this is honestly a movie that I've always really loved, and this is the movie Splendor in the Grass, the Elia Kazan film that stars Warren Beatty, and it's a phenomenal movie, in my opinion, starring Natalie Wood as well. This is an astonishing film. I can't really explain it other than that. I've had it on DVD for many years, and I've always was waiting and waiting and waiting for them to put out a Blu-ray release, and they finally did this year. I think this came out back in June, and this was probably going to be one of my favorites of the year, just to get a nice upgrade over the old DVD, which was, that DVD's got to be 20 years old at this point. But this only comes with one special feature. This only comes with the documentary Elia Kazan, A Director's Journey, and a theatrical trailer. But just to have the movie on high definition is enough for me. So that is Splendor in the Grass, the Elia Kazan film, Warner Archive release. Now I got a couple of second sight releases. Actually, I have 3 second sight releases. Where did I put the third one? We shall see. Oh, here it is. Okay. So our good friend who has been on the Chasing Labels show twice, and Sean Baker, has had 2 of his movies get second sight releases. This one was from a couple of years ago. This is his movie Tangerine. This is the Blu-ray edition. It only came out on Blu-ray so far. This has a bunch of nice new special features, as well as an audio commentary by him. And yeah, the movie was shot on an iPhone. Notoriously shot on an iPhone. So I'm curious how it's going to look here in a more deluxe Blu-ray edition. I have the old Blu-ray and it looks fine. So I'm curious how it's going to look here. And then I've got another film from him. This is a big release from this year, actually. This is The Florida Project. This is a 4K UHD release. This is one of their super duper deluxe releases. I had to get this. We had Sean Baker on here on Chasing Labels back in June. After he had won all of the awards for Honora, and then Honora got the Criterion Blu-ray and 4K release. We had him on the show to talk about that release, as well as his release of his movie. Um, oh, where is it? I think I still have it. Let me see. Why am I completely blanking on it? Let me go. Actually, I'm on Criterion's website right now. Lucky for me, I have my tabs up. Um, let's see. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Why am I blanking? Prince of Broadway. Yes, the movie Prince of Broadway, and of course Honora. But this is the Florida Project, which came out a couple of years ago. This was a bit of a breakout hit for Sean Baker. And this movie had been on an A24 Blu-ray for many, many years, but now it's getting the 4K Deluxe Edition release with hard. Is that a hardcover book? Yes, it is. Hardbound book, all kinds of stuff. And this is something I'm going to wait to do a proper review of because I still have to watch it, watch the contents, all that kind of stuff. I literally just got this in the mail like within the last week. So let me see. I've got these two. I'm running out of room to put any of this anywhere. Let me move this over here. Another second sight release. I always save the second sight releases for like the holiday season. Reanimator. Here we go. Reanimator. So, this just came out. Literally got this in the mail today. So I haven't been able to delve into it, but for those of you who know Reanimator, it's been available from Arrow for many, many years on Blu-ray. It's a all-time, I would say, horror cult classic, you could say. And it's so well known. It's so well known. I don't really have to explain it to people, but I've never owned it. I wanted to get the Arrow Blu-ray for years, and I just never did. And now I've got the Second Sight 4K. There you go. Also, what I'm waiting on, and hopefully it comes in this week or next week, is Possession. So Possession is, I think, going to be my number one release of the year, or definitely a candidate for release of the year. I'm actually checking on my order right now. This is not what you're supposed to do while you're live on the air. Is check your orders for stuff. Yeah, it's says it's supposed to be coming this week, so we shall see. Um, okay, we shall see. We shall see. So yeah, so that's Reanimator, and then like I said, Possession's the other big second sight release. That's going to be coming. That's already out. Some Arrow stuff I got recently that between last episode and this episode is actually a movie I've been wanting to get in my collection since 2016, and that is The Return of the Living Dead. Now this is the limited edition 4K edition from Arrow, and ironically, I'm probably going to end up talking about all of these in due time because we're going to be doing a favorite releases of the year episode or just video sometime. I'm assuming within after the new year. I'm assuming somewhere around there. But this is the Night of the Living Dead. Oh, Return of the Living Dead. Sorry. Great artwork here. And then one last thing also from Arrow, and then we will move on to what we actually do here on Chasing Labels. This is I've been trying to get this for a month. City on Fire 4K UHD. This is the Arrow release. Now, Shout Factory has already put out a bunch of their releases of the Hong Kong 1980s films. The Golden Princess catalog, they put out a bunch of them, including City on Fire. But Arrow is starting to put out their editions now, or at least announcing them. Peking Opera Blues they just announced as well. They just announced Hard Boiled, which we will talk about here on tonight's episode. But this is their first one, City on Fire. I love this artwork. I believe this artwork's done by our friend Tony Stella, who was also a guest here on Chasing Labels once upon a time. So, with all of that out of the way, and with me bumping into things, let me move all of that here. Let's get into some announcements, shall we? Let me go back to my list of notes. I think we're actually going to start at Indicator, just because they only have two things, and it's two things that I've already seen. Where are you? There you are. So Indicator, coincidentally, I've got to get some things from Indicator to put on my best of the year list. They actually just had their Columbia Noir #7, I believe, just came out. Came out December 15th, so that's what, not even that's a week ago? Yeah, like a week ago. So that's something that I definitely am interested in. It's a little expensive, but let's get into what they have. So only two announcements here. It's the movie The Survivor and the movie Dead Kids, also known as Strange Behavior. So they are putting that out in both the US and UK releases, both in 4K, both on Blu-ray. Let's get into the Survivor. Let's see. Bum. There's not even. Ah, here we go. I was like, there's not even a description here. When pilot, let's see. Robert Powell, Jenny Agutter, and Joseph Cotton star in The Survivor, a terrifying tale of supernatural horror from director David Hemmings. When pilot David Keller is the sole survivor of a plane crash, he begins to experience terrifying visions. Assisted by a clairvoyant who claims to have contacted the crash victims, Keller starts to investigate the cause of the accident, only to find that those who can help him keep turning up dead. Based on the novel by the celebrated horror writer James Herbert, scripted by David Ambrose, and produced by the legendary Anthony I. Guinan, The Survivor is a classic of exploitation horror. There you go. Um, so it is, let's see, brand new 4K HDR restoration from the original camera negative by Indicator, by Powerhouse Films. Three presentations of the film: the previously unseen director's cut, which runs 100 minutes, the original Australian theatrical version, which runs 99 minutes, and the shorter US version, which runs 81 minutes. Wow, that was cut down to nothing. You got the original mono audio. You have the audio commentary on the Australian version with producer Anthony I. Ganani and film critic and archivist Jamie Leonarder. Audio commentary on the Australian version with Ganani and horror hostess Katarina Lee Waters. We got the Not Quite Hollywood interviews outtakes from Mark Hartley's acclaimed documentary on Australia cinema featuring Ganani and cinematographer John Seal. The Legend of James Herbert, critic David Flint, and filmmaker and academic Christopher Cook explore the work of the acclaimed horror author with a focus on The Survivor. Anthony I. Ganani on The Survivor, an introduction to the film. Clapperboard The Survivor, which has excerpts from the Australian TV program featuring behind the scenes footage and interviews with the actors. And then we have an archival TV interview. We have an original promotional film, behind the scenes of The Survivor, appreciation by the academic and Australian cinema specialist Stephen Morgan, original theatrical trailer and TV spot, Brian Trenchard Smith trailer commentary, image gallery, and then there's an 80-page exclusive book with new essays and such. Let's see, world premiere on 4K, limited edition of 10,000 individually numbered units. I believe this movie has come out before because I watched it and we talked about it here on Chasing Labels. Now, where did that movie come out before? That is the question of the night. Let's see, The Survivor. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Oh, okay. Okay, so it got an Ozploitation Classics release from Umbrella in 2022. That must be where I first watched it and probably talked about it. So, several years ago, and they've gone away from it now. Umbrella used to have like sub labels. They would have like Ozploitation Classics and like cult classics and stuff like that. And one of the most popular lines was the Ozploitation Classics. They did so many of those, and one of the releases was Survivor, or The Survivor rather. I remember liking the movie. I like I said, I haven't seen it in 3 years. I haven't seen it in 3 years. But this release here, if the 4K edition is region free. Let me check if the Blu-ray is region free or not. Let's see. The Blu-ray is the Blu-ray is region free as well. So there's a US and UK release of that. Next we have the movie Dead Kids, also known as Strange Behavior. Let's see. Where are you? Oh, yeah. Michael Murphy, Dan Shore, and Fiona Lewis head the impressive cast of Dead Kids, also known as Strange Behavior, a darkly comic blend of horror and science fiction from director Michael Laughlin. Let's see. In a small Midwestern town, Police Chief John Brady investigates a bizarre series of murders as the corpses pile up. All signs point to the hellish mind control experiments of a twisted scientist. Co-written by Bill Condon, with a soundtrack by Tangerine Dream, and produced in New Zealand by the legendary Australian producer Anthony I. Gennady. There you go. And yeah, so we've got brand new 4K HDR restoration from the original camera negative by Powerhouse Films. Two presentations of the film: the original Australian theatrical version, which runs 102 minutes, and the US theatrical version, which ran 100 minutes. So the Australian version was titled Dead Kids, and the US theatrical version was titled Strange Behavior. You have the original mono audio commentary with director and co-writer Michael Laughlin and filmmaker David Gregory. That's from 2014. Audio commentary with co-writer Bill Condon and actors Dan Shore and Day Young. Interview with actor Michael Murphy. Lasting bonds. Actor Fiona Lewis fondly looks back on the film's production. An actor's dream. Interview with actor Day Young. The effects of strange behavior. A very delicious conversation with Dan Shore. Podcasting After Dark. Dan Shore. Excerpts from a career-spanning audio interview. Not Quite Hollywood. You get the interviews from that documentary, which I actually have. I have it somewhere. Hold on. I don't know where it is. I thought I had it next to me. I may, but I don't know. I saw it the other day, and I was like, "Oh, that's I got to do something with that." So, where was I? Oh yeah, Lightning Strikes new presentation of a 2004 interview with Gennady about the films. Perfect Strangers appreciation by the academic and Australian cinema specialist Stephen Morgan. Isolated score, original theatrical trailers, Patton Oswalt trailer commentary. That's kind of cool. You have a limited edition exclusive 80-page book with essays. This is a world premiere on 4K UHD, and it is region free. Well, the 4K is region free, and I believe the Blu-ray is as well, because it's available in both the UK and the US. Yet again, this is another movie that I saw a couple of years ago. Where did I see? I think this was another Ozploitation movie. Yeah, this was another Ozploitation movie put out by Umbrella back in 2022. That's where I saw this as well. Okay. See, I'm making connections here. I'm making connections. I'm making connections. So that is it from it. Like I said, it from Indicator. Just these two releases. And when are these coming out? Actually, probably should have said that. These are their March releases. These are their March releases. There you go. Okay, let's see. Where do we want to go from here? We did Powerhouse / Indicator. I do want to save Arrow probably for the end. Actually, I'm saving Criterion for the end. That's actually really tough. Yeah, Criterion's saving for the end because they've got Killers of the Flower Moon. So Arrow and Criterion will be our headliners, and the rest we will do. So Imprint I'm going to do now because I've got Imprint up. There's a lot to go over. I don't think I'm going to go in as detailed as this. Like I said, I want this to be a kind of laid back and relaxed holiday episode of Chasing Labels. I've got my candy canes that I'm almost dropped and broken to oblivion. So I got my candy canes here, got my hat on, which it is getting increasingly warmer as the show goes on. So let's see what we got here from Imprint. Imprint is going off this year, by the way. Imprint is a candidate for like best label of the year in terms of just sheer output of stuff. They may be up there. They're kind of giving everybody else a run for their money because they've got not one slate for February. They have 2 slates for February plus 2 box sets for March already for next year. That not let alone what they've done this past year, which has been monumental. They've done so much. So let's get into their February bundle pack number 2. Let's get into all these titles. So we have The Fabulous Baker Boys, The Fan, Mr. Jones, Wrong is Right, True Colors, and Racing with the Moon. Now, these may sound familiar because some of these have been released by other labels before. Specifically, off the top of my head, Racing with the Moon has an edition from Fun City Editions, which actually just came out earlier this year. I have it. I'm probably going to mention it in my uh, favorite releases of the year episode because I really like the movie. I actually have to get one more release from them before we shoot that video. But anywho, that's just my inner monologue coming out. So, uh, let's see, The Fabulous Baker Boys. Let's go with this one first. Yet again, I want to be rather relaxed about this because there's a lot of these to go through. So, The Fabulous Baker Boys is a movie from 1989 starring Jeff Bridges and Beau Bridges. They're brothers in real life. They're brothers in this movie, and the movie also stars Michelle Pfeiffer as well. So they are a they are a band of like traveling performing musicians, and like they play like lounge music, like at like swanky restaurants and clubs and stuff while people are sitting down and having drinks or eating, and they're playing on the piano. They're talking to the audience, and they're lounge performers essentially, and they decide to add a third person to their act because their act is getting a little I would say not unpopular but boring, a little boring. So they decide to add a singer to the mix, and they audition singers, and the best one they find is portrayed by Michelle Pfeiffer, and she introduces another element to this brotherly uh, relationship they've got going on. It's not quite antagonistic, but if you have siblings, specifically if you have a brother or a sister or something like that, you understand that there is always this interesting relationship you have with one another. Where it can be antagonistic, it can be like rivalry-ish, it can be it's just complicated in general. No matter I think how great a relationship you have with your brother or sister or whatever the case may be, there's always something there, you know. And this movie definitely explores that between Beau and Jeff Bridges, their characters on screen. Jeff Bridges' character is kind of more laid back. He's kind of playing a precursor to the dude from Big Lebowski. Not quite that level of relaxed, but you know what I'm saying. He doesn't really talk a lot. He doesn't really get involved. He kind of just like goes with the flow of whatever his brother's doing. Beau Bridges, on the other hand, is managing everything. He's the one doing the bookings. He's the one, choosing the music. He's the one who is kind of leading the band when it comes to interaction with the audiences and starting the songs off and all this kind of stuff. And so he's the one who's way more active in this band. And they have a little back and forth and stuff and whatnot. But Michelle Pfeiffer's character introduces another element of complications to the thing. Her and Jeff Bridges' character get a little bit of a romance relationship going on, and she's becoming, super popular, and they're getting more success because of her. All this kind of stuff. But I like the movie, actually. And needless to say, I like the movie. It's a little tonally all over the place, but I just love Jeff Bridges so much as an actor. I watch him in anything, doing anything. And I actually rather like the movie. It's called The Fabulous Baker Boys. Let's see what we got for special features. Um, let's see. Audio commentary with writer-director Steve Kloves and film historians Julie Kurgo and Nick Redman. So, Steve Kloves has not directed many things. He's mostly a screenwriter. He wrote like all of the screenplays for the Harry Potter movies except for one. Like I don't think he wrote the screenplay for Order of the Phoenix, but I think he wrote the screenplays for all of the other ones. That's probably where people most notably will know him from. I want to say that this movie got a Blu-ray release from Twilight Time. Because anytime I see the late Nick Redman's name on something, it always brings me back to. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, hold on. The Fabulous Baker Boys, because it always brings me back to. Yep, there was a Twilight Time release of this in 2015. There was also a MVD marquee collection release of this from 2022. And then, of course, now there is one from Imprint coming out in 2026. So we shall, let's see, let me move along with the special features. There's another audio commentary by the photographer, by director of photography Michael Ballhaus, who's one of the best in my opinion. Isolated music and effects track, deleted scenes, archival interviews with Michelle Pfeiffer, Bro Bridges, and Michael Ballhaus. No, and Steve Kloves. Sorry, my eyes started getting blurry on me. So that is the Fabulous Baker Boys. We'll move on from there. We will go on to The Fan. Now, this is a Tony Scott film from 1996, which uh, is a fascinating movie. I've heard about this movie for years, and I've been wanting to watch it for so long, and I just never did. Now, this has a Blu-ray release from, I believe, Mill Creek already, and it doesn't look very good. Hopefully, this one looks better. Um, so we have, yeah, this movie also stars Benicio del Toro, John Leguizamo, Jack Black's in the movie. I think he's in like one scene. Ellen Barkin. Um, Hans Zimmer does the score of the movie. So if you've never seen this movie before, here's the synopsis. Starring Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes. I should probably say that off the top. They're the main leads of the movie. When the San Francisco Giants pay center fielder Bobby Rayburn $40 million to lead their team to the World Series, no one is happier or more supportive than number one fan Gil Renard. So when Rayburn becomes mired in the worst slump of his career, the obsessed Renard decides to stop at nothing to help his idol regain his former glory. And that's the case. So you got a super fan here in Robert De Niro's character who becomes obsessed and more obsessed and more obsessed over the Wesley Snipes' character of Bobby Rayburn. And to the point where he will do anything to help his favorite player get out of this hitting slump that he's in. And it just escalates and escalates and escalates. It gets crazier and crazier. And Robert De Niro plays it very well. He plays crazy very well. Think of his character in Cape Fear on that level of like horrifically insane. And that's Bobby De Niro in this movie. And you've got Tony Scott doing his usual Tony Scott style with the rapid editing and the pace of his movies and stuff. And the third act is not great. Like the whole, like, you know where the movie's going, and when it happens, it happens exactly as you expect it to be, and it's not a great third act. It really isn't. But inevitably, that's unfortunately how the movie had to go. So everything but its third act, I really really liked, and yeah, it's an interesting also commentary on like obsessive fanaticism, which I think has only gotten even more extreme as time has gone on, especially nowadays when we have so much access to celebrities regarding like social media, and you have the 24-hour news cycle, and you have places like TMZ, Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight. You've got just you have Twitter and Instagram and just all everything. You know what I mean? Like the internet's on 24 hours a day, especially in the world of celebrities and stuff like that. Like I'm on, like I say this all the time. I'm on my phone like 14 hours a day. Like I'm tapped into the movie space. I'm tapped into the movie, TV shows, comic books. Like those are my things. Sports, those are my things. Politics, things like that. Like that's my thing that I'm tapped into. But I can understand. Trust me, I've been a sports fan. Oh goodness, for like 30 years. And trust me, there are sports fans who are absolutely obsessed, obsessed with their teams. As you can see, I'm literally right now wearing, a sports themed related Santa Claus hat. So as you can tell, I know what I'm talking about. I live an hour south of Boston, which is like the epicenter of sports mania here in New England. The closer you get to Boston, the more energy you can feel about the craziness of sports fanaticism. I've been to Celtics games. I've been to Red Sox games. Well, I haven't been to a Red Sox game in a long time, but I've been to Patriots games. I've been to Bruins games. The sports realm is nuts when it comes to fandom. Like literally, you can't explain it and you can't really experience it other than being there. The energy there is crazy, and people take it to the extreme. In this region specifically, they live and die with their sports teams, and I'm kind of one of them, so I get it. I get it. Now, what Robert De Niro does in this movie is nowhere near the level I'm at. I'll tell you that. Um, like I don't even buy sports jerseys anymore. Like I'm not even like that level of sports fandom. But this movie's commenting on a lot of that stuff, and it came out in 1996, and I think a lot of those themes are more prevalent today than ever before. Now, unfortunately for this release, there's not any special features, which is a shame because there weren't any special features, I think, on the Mill Creek release either that we got here. So there you go. You just get kind of the movie, and you get the trailer, and that's it. So moving on from Tony Scott's The Fan, but like I said, if you're a fan of Tony Scott and you want all of Tony Scott's movies, then you have to get The Fan. We have Mr. Jones from 1993. This is a movie which stars Richard Gere, Lena Olin, Anne Bancroft. Anne Bancroft has a small role in the movie. She's not really a headliner. So don't go to it thinking that you're going to see an Anne Bancroft movie, because you're not. Directed by Mike Figgis, an underrated director in my opinion. Mike Figgis directed Leaving Las Vegas, which is the only movie where Nicolas Cage won an Oscar for. Leaving Las Vegas is one of the most like existential, gut-wrenching movies I've ever seen. It's one of those movies that's really tough to rewatch. It's one of the saddest movies I've ever seen. Man, it's really tough. But I think Mike Figgis is an underrated director, in my opinion. He's actually just came out with a documentary called Megadoc, which was the behind-the-scenes making of Francis Ford Coppola's magnum opus in Megalopolis, which is it's a hoot of a movie. When is that going to get a proper 4K release? I know it's got one overseas, I think, but not here yet. At least I don't think so. Hold on. Before I start talking out of turn, Megalopolis is a movie you have to experience to believe. It really is. Yeah, so it doesn't have a Blu-ray or 4K release here yet. It's got one in the UK. Yeah, it's got a Blu-ray and 4K release in the UK. Oh man, it even has a steelbook in the UK. It's got a release in France. It's got a release in Germany. It even has a release in Australia, but no release here. That may be something I have to import, because I have no idea when or if ever that's going to get a release. Truly, a movie to behold. I've seen it, and I can't explain that movie to somebody. You really can't. But Megadoc is the documentary about the making of that movie, directed by Mike Figgis. And I just want to see if I'm actually getting that right. Yeah. That's what that's about. But obviously, back in the day, Mike Figgis directed this movie called Mr. Jones, which is interesting. Let me run down the synopsis here they've got. Impulsive, irresponsible, irresistible, Mr. Jones is a man who effortlessly draws people to him with his infectious charm and fascinating energy. Intelligent, dedicated, respected, Dr. Libby Bowen is a psychiatrist who, despite all her training, is totally unprepared for Mr. Jones. Awarded 3 out of 4 stars from Roger Ebert, who described the film as worth seeing for Gere's transitions from highs to lows, which are so convincing that we really do feel in the presence of mental illness with all of its seductive interior logic. Yes, so this movie is about mental illness, but it's an interesting take on it. Interesting take on it in the sense that you are following this character portrayed by Richard Gere of Mr. Jones, who clearly has mental illness, whether it is schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or something of the like. He clearly has it, and he clearly is resisting any treatment for it, which is something you hear about very often in real life all the way up to today, where people who are suffering from some type of mental illness, who don't want to seek treatment for, don't believe that they're sick, don't believe that they need treatment or that there's anything wrong with them. And you see that to this day. So this movie's contemporary from that perspective. Where the movie kind of goes a little bit off book is he begins this kind of relationship romantically with his therapist, which is kind of weird. And it's weird from both perspectives, specifically from the doctor's perspective, because I don't feel like it's wholly convincing. But anywho, the movie kind of is playing up all of that. Attractive patient, attractive doctor get together. If anything, it feels like something straight out of a romance novel. That's kind of what it feels like for me. And that's when the movie kind of, I think, loses people a little bit, which I understand. Anywho, I think Richard Gere's acting in the movie is very good, very convincing. It's a very interesting backstory with him and all of that, and it's an interesting exploration of mental illness from a 1993 perspective. I think our perspective on mental illness is a lot different now than it was back in 1993. Unfortunately for this release, this is also something where there are no special features for it at all. So all you really get is the movie. That is it. And that is Mr. Jones, directed by Mike Figgis from 1993. Next here is actually a movie I didn't get to see. Wrong is Right. So I'll for time purposes, we'll skip that. But True Colors I did see. Now, True Colors is a movie starring John Cusack and what's his name? James Spader. Imogen Stubbs, Mandy Patinkin's in the film. Richard Widmark is in the movie as well. A cutthroat political drama from Oscar-nominated director Herbert Ross, who directed Footloose and Play It Again, Sam. Two best friends, one aiming for a career in politics, the other the Department of Justice. Their friendship is tested when one discovers the other is involved in corrupt dealings. So, you got these two friends who met in college, John Cusack and James Spader. They're college roommates. They're both in like law school together and all this kind of stuff. And John Cusack goes into politics, and James Spader becomes a lawyer for the Justice Department. And John Cusack, like I said, gets into politics, and he runs for Congress. And James Spader is investigating him, or part of the investigative team, investigating him in some shady dealings. Some money things, finance things, getting in bed with corrupt individuals, stuff like that. Political things we all know exist in the real world is displayed in the movie here. And it's about their friendship and ups and downs and things like that, their career paths and things like that. It's an interesting movie commenting on political corruption and friendship and the complications those two tend to go together. And yeah, I thought the movie was fine. This release here only has an audio commentary by film historian and critic Matthew Asprey Gere, and that's it. So that's the movie True Colors from 1991. So a relatively young James Spader and John Cusack. Like I said, I already talked about Racing with the Moon. I have the Blu-ray of that already from Fun City Editions, which came out earlier this year. Actually, let me get it. Let me get it off the shelf so I can do a little compare and contrast when it comes to the special features. Okay, let me see if I'm actually in frame. I feel like I didn't move my camera over enough this time. But, so here's my Fun City Editions edition of the movie Racing with the Moon, starring Sean Penn, Elizabeth McGovern, and Nicolas Cage. Let's see, get this back on. So, for the sake of everything in the world, let me see what we have here for special features. Okay, so for the Fun City Editions edition, we have an audio commentary by director Richard Benjamin, audio commentary by Bill Ackerman and Mariah Gates, and the making of Racing with the Moon, and an image gallery. So the imprint release has an audio commentary with screenwriter and author Kelly Goodner and film historian Jim Hemphill, audio commentary by director Richard Benjamin, Racing with the Moon, The Story, The People featurette, The Making of the Racing with the Moon featurette, Racing with the Moon, The Story Goes On featurette, and that is it. So you get a little bit more with the imprint release, but you're also missing the audio commentary by Bill Ackerman and Mariah Gates, but you are getting a commentary by screenwriter and author Kelly Goodner and film historian Jim Hemphill. So it's a little a little column A, little column B, as they say. You give a little, get a little. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling. But um, either way, I really like the movie a lot. For those of you who have never seen the movie, it's a period piece. It takes place, I believe, during 1953, 1943. Sorry, 1943, and it's bit of a coming of age film with Sean Penn, Nicolas Cage, and it's like right before they're about to go uh, enlist in the army and stuff like that because of World War II. And Sean Penn meets Elizabeth McGovern's character, and they have this really sweet, interesting, romantic story. These two young people who kind of fall in love and whatnot, and the young love complications and things like that. A lot of coming of age stuff in here, um, and yeah, it's nice to see. This was right around the time that Sean Penn was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Nicolas Cage was in Valley Girl around that time. Elizabeth McGovern was in Ordinary People around that time as well. Really good movie. I really like this movie a lot. Anything that Fun City Editions puts out, movie wise, is definitely something I'm interested in checking out in the very least. So that's Racing with the Moon. Let's see. Moving on from there, let's move. I think that's it for this crop of imprint releases. Yeah, this is it for their February bundle number 2. So we got Racing with the Moon, True Colors, Wrong is Right, Mr. Jones, The Fan, and The Fabulous Baker Boys. Now, they have 2 box sets for March. They have Directed by Sidney Lumet, Volume 2, 1978 to 1999. And they have Directed by John Mackenzie, 1980 to 1992. Now, let's start with one of my all-time favorite directors in Sidney Lumet. And now, I don't want to go over all of these in massive, massive depth because I feel like, one, I didn't see them all, and 2, some of these are things people already know of. At least one of them. At least one of them. So we've got. Let me see, what movies do we have here? If it was a nice list, so we've got. We have The Wiz, Daniel, A Stranger Among Us, Critical Care, Gloria, and that's it. Okay, so let's start from the very. Actually, we already know The Wiz because Criterion just put this out on Blu-ray and 4K UHD, I believe, this year. So that's already been available. I have it in my collection. Actually, I just got it as part of. It's over there. Actually, it's over there. Never mind. I just got it as part of my recent Criterion haul from the November sale. So I have that edition already. So that's, of course, that's an adaptation of the musical based off of The Wizard of Oz. A little inception there. And let's see, that edition comes with new audio commentary by film critic and historian Lee Gambin, author/professor of media studies Dr. Alfred L. Martin Jr., actor Mike Hayes, and assistant director Lewis Gold. Video essay by film critic Michelle Kisner, produced by Lee Gambin. Oh, nice. Nice. Production and costume designer Tony Walton, interview and Q&A from the Library of Congress. Whiz on down the road, featurette, audio, and then that is it. So let's see. Daniel is the fictionalized story of Daniel, the son of Paul and Rochelle Isaacson, who were executed as Soviet spies in the 1950s. As a graduate student in New York in the 60s, Daniel is involved in the anti-war protest movement and contrasts his experiences with the memory of his parents and his belief that they were wrongfully convicted. Now, I didn't get to see this movie. It's based on a 1971 novel called The Book of Daniel by E.L. Doctorow. The film also features performances from Ed Asner, Ellen Barkin, and Tova Feldscha. You have an audio commentary by film critic Adrian Martin, our good friend here. Archival interview with Sidney Lumet and Timothy Hutton. And that is it. For A Stranger Among Us, which I did actually see, Detective Emily Eden is a tough New York City cop tasked with going undercover to solve a puzzling murder. Her search for the truth takes her into a secret world of unwritten law and unspoken power, a world where the only way out is deeper in. Let's see. The movie stars Melanie Griffin, let's see, John Pankow, Lee Richardson, and featuring the first credited film performance from James Gandolfini. Yes, James Gandolfini is in the movie. Now, Melanie Griffin is a police detective who's got to go undercover into the world of 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 the Jewish population of New York. Um, and because there's been a murder in their community, and she's got to investigate it. And she decides to go undercover and essentially she learns the ways of Judaism and the specific sect of the movie that um that this group of people are from. And so you learn about the community, you learn about the tradition, you learn about the rituals, you learn about their way of life, all those kinds of things from Melanie Griffin's perspective. There's also a young budding romance in the movie as well. It's interesting. I don't know if Melanie Griffin was quite the actress that was right for the role, but she is in there nonetheless. There's a new featurette on Sidney Lumet's later years and a theatrical trailer, and that is it. And then we have the movie Critical Care. Now, I believe this is the movie starring James Spader as well. Young James Spader, once again. Sidney Lumet's Critical Care satirizes the American healthcare system and features an all-star cast including James Spader, Kira Sedgwick, Helen Mirren, Jeffrey Wright, Albert Brooks, and Wallace Shawn. Werner Ernst is a young hospital resident who becomes embroiled in a legal battle between two half-sisters who are fighting over the care of their comatose father, but are they really fighting over their father's care or over his $10 million estate? Meanwhile, Werner must contend with his nutty supervisor who insists that he only care for patients with full insurance. Can Werner sidestep the hospital's legal team and do what's best for the patient? Nominated for an Independent Spirit Award for Best Screenplay, Roger Ebert awarded the film 3 out of 4 stars, describing it as a stimulating mix of a medical drama and a courtroom showdown. Kind of yes, kind of no. I'll say this. It's definitely a movie that is satirizing, poking fun of, exposing, commenting on the world of healthcare, specifically insurance in the United States medical system. And as someone who has been in it since I was 3 years old and been involved in it, I would say, due to various illnesses and kept medical and consistent medical care for like over 35 years, it definitely nails it. It definitely nails it. Uh, yeah, I liked it from that perspective. Tonally, it's a little all over the place. It can be a little kooky at times, but it is trying to get at a serious thing of like patient exploitation and treating Medicare or treating medical care as a for-profit system versus as what it's supposed to be, which is helping the sick get better or helping those who are ill feel better. Yeah. But anywho, special features wise, new audio commentary by film historians Howard S. Berger and Nathaniel Thompson, and it says more new special features possibly coming. And then we have the movie Gloria. Now, this is a remake of the 1980 John Cassavetes film titled the same thing, titled Gloria. That movie starred Gina Rowlands in the title role. This movie stars Sharon Stone in the title role. So, after serving a prison term for her boyfriend, a streetwise middle-aged gangster moll named Gloria stands up against the mob, which is complicated by a 6-year-old urchin with a will of his own, whom she reluctantly takes under her wing after his family has been gunned down. So, you've got Gloria portrayed by Sharon Stone. She gets out of prison. She tries to go back to her old like gangster boyfriend, her old life, and decides, yeah, it's not for me. or she kind of like goes against it now because they basically she wants her money. She wants to get out. They promised her, hey, if you take the rap for this, which is a crime she didn't commit, if you do the prison term, we'll take care of you once you get out. And they decide not to take care of her, so she decides, hey, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. But meanwhile, they've taken in, well, not taken, they've kidnapped essentially a young boy whose family they've gotten rid of, and they don't know what to do with them. So she basically steals this kid from them, who has this disc once again, it's one of those disc situations where it's a disc with information um, that is important to them. I think it's got a list of all their business dealings and finances and stuff like that. So he's got this disc, and they want it back, and they want to get rid of the kid. They want to get rid of her. So they're chasing her throughout the whole movie. That's the premise of the movie. Meanwhile, she and the kid become like close, like a pseudo parent child relationship starts forming. There you go. That's the movie. There's a making of featurette on here, and that is it. Right on. All right. So that is the Sidney Lumet box set volume 2 from Imprint. Now, the next one I'm going to go over even quicker because I didn't watch any of the movies from it. um, you have directed by John McKenzie, 1980 to 1992, Imprint collection. And this has The Long Good Friday, The Honorary Consul, The Fourth Protocol, and Ruby, which is making a worldwide first on Blu-ray release. So The Long Good Friday is a movie that many of you probably are aware of. It's the gangster movie starring the great Bob Hoskins, as well as Helen Mirren. She's in that film as well. She actually plays a gangster mole in that movie, coincidentally enough. And the movie's excellent. It's got a Blu-ray release from Arrow. It's got a 4K. It also has a 4K release from Arrow. It's got a 4K and Blu-ray release from Criterion. I know because that's the one I have. Let me take a quick gander behind me. See if I can find it on the shelf. Oh, it's probably up top. Yeah, because that's where my... I think it's behind me. Hold on. Yeah, I can see it from here. Yeah, it's behind me. So behind me, if those of you who can't, maybe you guys can see. Yeah, behind me. This is the back half of my drama section of my collection. So I've got everything from, I think, like K through Z. I think is behind me. So anytime I think of something K through Z, I look behind me to see, hey, where is that on my shelf? But that's my drama section behind me. So I do have it up there because I decided to get the Criterion edition versus the Arrow edition because I think there was some special feature on there that I wanted that wasn't on the Arrow release, and the Arrow release had something that the Criterion release didn't have. So it's a whole big thing. Anywho, let's see what the Long Good Friday has in store for us. In the late 1970s, Cockney crime boss Harold Shand, a gangster trying to become a legitimate property mogul, has big plans to get the American mafia to bankroll his transformation of a derelict area of London into the possible venue for a future Olympic Games. Excuse me. However, a series of bombings targets his empire on the very weekend the Americans are in town. Shand is convinced there is a traitor in his organization and sets out to eliminate the rat in a ruthless fashion. Let's see. For special features, we've got audio commentary by director John McKenzie, Bloody Business, Making of the Long Good Friday documentary, interview with the casting directors Simone Reynolds, interview with costume designer Tudor George, interview with actor Rob Walker, and a theatrical trailer. And let's see, the other movies here, I didn't get to see Honorary Consul, but I know Michael Caine is in that movie, Richard Gere's in that film. I think Bob Hoskins is in it as well. Yes, I should have watched it. It's based on the 1973 novel by Graham Greene. I should have read that. I should have watched this. The Fourth Protocol stars Michael Caine, Pierce Brosnan, and Ned Beatty. I believe that's a political thriller. Yes. And let's see. And Ruby is about Jack Ruby, portrayed by Danny Aiello. Jack Ruby famously killed, what's his name? Why am I blanking on who shot Kennedy? I almost said John Wilkes Booth. Lee Harvey Oswald. Yes. Jack Ruby, I believe, was famously that nightclub owner who killed Lee Harvey Oswald as he was leaving the police station. And there's been conspiracy theories about all of that for decades. If you've ever seen the movie JFK, the Oliver Stone film, you know Oliver Stone loves a good political conspiracy. you can check all that out. But so just in the interest of time, that's just all of that. So those will be coming out in March. That is their Imprint Films March, directed by bundle pack of John McKenzie box set, directed by John Mackenzie box set, and directed by Sidney Lumet Volume 2. Okay, we've spent tons of time on that. Let's move down the lane, shall we? Let's see what else we've got here. I think we have some one-offs, or not one-offs, but some individual releases I wanted to get into before we hit Kino, because Kino's got some stuff. They've got a lot of stuff, actually. Let me see if I can find these, because Warner Archive has like these 3 packs that I want. Not these 3. These 3 like multiple movie collections. Let me see if I can find them. We've got the Fred Astaire collection. Yeah, this is the Fred Astaire 4-film collection. This is coming out February 17th. Now, these are all available individually from Warner Archive. You can buy them individually, or you can get them in one collection, which I'm assuming it's just all 4 discs in a Blu-ray case. That seems to be my thought behind it. So this collection has Easter Parade, The Bandwagon, Silk Stockings, and Finian's Rainbow. So me personally, I love buying them individually versus getting them in these collections. That's just me. Obviously, when you get them in the collection, it'll save you shelf space and probably will save you some money too, because you can get all 4 of these movies for $40 as opposed to probably buying them each individually for probably double that. I would assume so, because typically right now, Warner Archive releases are anywhere between $15 and $25. And I'm just throwing out numbers here because that seems to be the case, in my opinion. Mostly they're more expensive now than they were in the past. So I usually get them when they're as close to the $10 range as you can possibly get. I would love to get all of these for $10 a piece. That's the goal. That's the magic number. But sometimes you can't. For example, I just talked about Splendor in the Grass. This I was able to get on sale. Keep in mind, on sale from Amazon for $16. So not like that's at the higher range, I would say, for a Warner Archive release, in my opinion. Just because Warner Archive, for me, you're typically just buying the movie. Typically. Usually they do, like I said this many times, the movies look amazing. I'll say this, Warner Archive does amazing work when it comes to their picture quality. They just don't really produce their own special features for the most part. They typically transfer over special features from the previous DVD release of the movie, or if there isn't any features, like it making its Blu-ray premiere or making its disc premiere, there won't be any special features. But in some cases, in some special cases, like the Tom and Jerry set or the Huckleberry Hound set that they came out with, they will produce new special features. Like there's 2 new featurettes on here. So you do get some cases, but it's not all the time. For the vast majority of time, it's typically not a lot when it comes to special features. Like this, like I said, this here only has the theatrical trailer and a documentary of Eli Kazan, A Director's Journey. So that's it. So $16 for this is about right, in my opinion. Yet again, everybody values everything differently. So, it all depends on how much cash you have, really. I like to always be mindful of the value of things based on my perspective. So this Fred Astaire collection, like I said, it's available to pre-order now for $40. It's Easter Parade, The Bandwagon, Silk Stockings, Finian's Rainbow. I love Fred Astaire, so I'm probably going to buy these all individually at some point. Let's see, what were the other ones that I have? I believe there's a Spencer Tracy collection as well. Spencer Tracy, one of my favorite actors of all time. Really an all-time actor, in my opinion. So you've got 4 films in this collection as well. Why are they not listing these off for me? Let's see. Oh, of course, they're going to make this tougher. So I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. So you've got Bad Day at Black Rock, which is excellent. You have Fury, which is also excellent. You have Northwest Passage, and you have Libel Lady. Libel Lady is excellent. Libel Lady. These are all great releases. Libel Lady stars Jean Harlow, William Powell, Myrna Loy, and Spencer Tracy. Excellent release. I would recommend all of these movies, whether you buy them individually or whether you buy them in this collection. So that's coming out February 17th as well. And then I think lastly, I'm looking at my notes here, Hollywood on Broadway. So these will be musicals. And I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but I do like a good classic musical. I don't even think. Hold on. Oh, is that that? Hold on. Oh, it's called Broadway on the big screen. My bad. I wrote in my notes Hollywood on Broadway. It's Broadway on the big screen. Now this comes with 6 movies. This is coming out February 17th as well. You have Brigadoon, Guys and Dolls, Damn Yankees, Gypsy, The Pajama Game, and The Boyfriend. Okay. Yet again, these are all individual. You can buy these all individually, or you can buy them in this collection here. Now, with this collection here, yeah, it's $60, so each movie is $10. That's good value. That's really really good value. Yeah, obviously the highlight here is probably Guys and Dolls for many. Brigadoon I know is very popular. Damn Yankees, Gypsy I believe starring is that the Natalie Wood film? No, Rosalind Russell. Sorry, no, Natalie Wood is in the movie. Yeah, it's Rosalind Russell, Natalie Wood, Carl Malden. This is the Mervyn LeRoy film. Yeah, this is my stuff. I love. Like my goal is if I had to Warner Archive, I hope never goes away. I know we talked about it several times here on Chasing Labels, but there's such an embarrassment and abundance of riches in the Warner Archive line, in the Warner Brothers catalog that's over a century old. There is such an abundance of rich history back in the golden age through the 60s and all of that I hope never goes away. That's why I think everybody's very fearful of this whole Netflix purchase and acquisition thing that's going on. Even Paramount acquiring them is also a dire situation as well, because you don't know what's going to be the fate of all of their back catalog stuff. As it is, it's such a tough task to get their back catalog stuff out now, let alone when someone who's predominantly uninterested in putting things out on physical media gets a hold of all of it. You know what I'm saying? But so those are the Warner Archive collections they have coming out in February. You have Broadway on the big screen, you have the Fred Astaire collection, and you have the Spencer Tracy collection, all coming out on February 17th, 2026. Now let me see what else I've got here individually. I'm going over to Deaf Crocodile. So Deaf Crocodile has 2 releases upcoming. Let me go over to their site. Yeah, there's 2. There's White Son of the Desert, and then there's a Krakatit. So let's go to White Son of the Desert first. Let's see. I do not know what this is about. This is a long paragraph to read here. Let's see. I'm just trying to piece together. Okay, so set during the Russian Civil War, the story follows Fyodor trampling across the sands of Turkmenistan and desperate to get home to his wife when he's diverted into guarding a harem of Muslim women caught in a struggle between a renegade Red Army unit and local Basmaki guerrillas led by Abdullah, filled with endless quotable dialogue and song lyrics. And I'll say White Sun is as visually striking as Leone's A Fistful of Dollars, with its resourceful hero waging a one-man battle against the bandit chieftain and his army. So you're getting here a bit of a Russian Western. Okay. That's what White Sun in the Desert is. White Son of the Desert, sorry. So there's a new interview with expert on Russian Red Westerns author Sergei Lavrentiev, a new commentary track by film scholar Rolf Giesen, New visual essay by film historian Evan Chester, new restoration trailer, and the new artwork by Beth Morris. There's a for the deluxe edition. There's a slipcase featuring new artwork by Stephen Thomas, 60-page illustrated book, new essay by Peter Rollberg, new essay by Walter Chaw, limited edition of 1,750 copies. And then we've got the movie Crack a Tit, which I have no idea what this is. We shall learn this together. Let's see. This is from 1948. Long. Let's see. Czech director Otakar Vavra's astonishing Crack a Tit is a literal fever dream of a movie that mixes 1940s film noir, paranoid thriller, and speculative atomic sci-fi in the story of a chemist named Prokop who hallucinates fragments of how he's invented a proto-nuclear weapon and the mystery of what's happened to the formula for it. The film has overtones of Rudolph Mattei's classic noir DOA, 1940s Orson Welles films like The Stranger and The Lady from Shanghai, and Hitchcock's Spellbound. Wow. You just hit all of my favorite things. When you start whipping out Hitchcock, Orson Welles, film noir, you're hitting all of my favorite things in movies. So I'm definitely interested in this. New video interview on the film's restoration by archivist Teresa Frolova of the Narodny Filmový Archive, Prague. I have no idea what I'm looking at, what I'm reading here. New commentary by film historian Peter Hames and Czech film expert Irina Kavarova. Let's see, new visual essay by film historian Clayton Dillard, new artwork by Beth Morris, slipcase featuring new artwork by Richard Cox, 60-page illustrated book, new essay by new essay by Walter Chaw, new essay by Jonathan Owen, limited to 1,115 units. And there is 600 subscriber and member-only variants. Okay, so this sounds very fascinating to me. Also, you had that is White Son of the Desert and Crack a Tit, both from Deaf Crocodile. Yeah, White Son of the Desert is from 1970. I didn't mention that. Thought I'd mention that now. So these are both coming. I don't even think I gave release dates for this. I don't think it said. Maybe I'm just combing here to see if there's a release date for either of these, and I cannot see it. Anywho, those are coming soon. So let's move on from Deaf Crocodile to okay. So there's one Hammer release coming out that I want to talk about called Cry Banshee. And the reason why I want to mention this is one, I watched it, and two, it stars Vincent Price. And anything starring Vincent Price is worth talking about. So Cry Banshee. Oh, do I have it already? So anywho, there is. I just got it. I don't know where the heck. Oh, hold on. So it's right next. I may have this movie already. Or maybe I don't. I do have it. Okay. So, for those of you who have the Vincent Price collection, Volume 3 from Shout Factory, it does have Cry of the Banshee in it. What's interesting is I watched it streaming when I could have watched it on Blu-ray. Huh. I'm just reading the special features on the back here. But if you have, like I said, if you have Volume 3 of the Vincent Price collection from Shout Factory, you have Cry of the Banshee already. But Hammer's putting out one of their super duper deluxe editions. And their super duper deluxe editions are very nice. They are very, very nice. They just put out Curse of Frankenstein, which I know is a big release for a lot of people this year. And they're doing it again, I believe, with Cry of the Banshee. Or at least it's going to be a deluxe edition. I don't know. It's not going to be as super duper deluxe as that one, but it's going to be nice. So the synopsis is, so let me read this actually. Hammer is preparing 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray releases of Gordon Hessler's Cry of the Banshee from 1970, starring Vincent Price. Uh, the two releases are scheduled to arrive on the market on February 9th. The description is as thus: Lord Edward Whitman, who rules his domain with an iron fist, massacres a coven of witches, but some still survive, and their vengeful leader summons a demonic spirit to destroy Whitman's family. The two releases will feature both Hessler's original director's cut and AIP's re-edited theatrical version, and the special features are new commentary with author, filmmaker, and horror film fan, Chris Alexander, a new interview with the author and film critic Kim Newman, a Devilish Tale of Poe archive interview with director Gordon Hessler, and then original theatrical trailer, TV, and radio spot, and that's it. And then it says "and more." So I don't know what the "and more" is, but I can tell you this: none of those special features are on this edition here from Shout Factory, except for the, let's see, the Devilish Tale of Poe is on both releases. Okay. So that is an upcoming Hammer release of Cry of the Banshee. And the next we have The Straight Story. So The Straight Story is one of David Lynch's films. It's literally his most straightforward film, hence the title of the movie, The Straight Story. It is a beautiful, beautiful movie. This is coming out February 9th. This is a great film from his. I have the Australian imprint release Blu-ray of this already, but this is going to be a 4K from Studio Canal in the UK. Obviously, the 4K will be region-free. I believe it's going to be also available on Blu-ray as well. But let me read this here. So Studio Canal are preparing 4K Blu-ray and Blu-ray releases of David Lynch's The Straight Story, starring Richard Farnsworth, Sissy Spacek, Harry Dean Stanton. The two releases are scheduled to arrive on the market on February 9th. Yeah, the movie is so simple and yet so beautiful and so perfect. It's an astonishing work. So filmed along the 260-mile route that the actual Alvin Strait traversed in 1994 from Lawrence, Iowa to Mount Zion, Wisconsin. The Straight Story chronicles Alvin's patient odyssey and those he meets along the way. When not rolling along at 5 miles an hour aboard his 66 John Deere tractor, Alvin encounters several strangers, from a teenage runaway to a fellow World War II veteran. By sharing his life's earned wisdom with simple stories, Alvin has a profound impact on these characters that color his pilgrimage. Honestly, that's the movie. It you may be like, oh, that's it, but it's everything. There's beauty and simplicity of life, and this movie captures that. There's no forced conflict. There's no forced story. There's no forced anything. Nothing about this movie is forced in any way. There's no plot contrivance. There's no plot device. It's just there, and it's so brilliant. So for special features, there's a new 4K restoration of the movie. There's an audio commentary by Peter Tonquette. Mark and Bob tell it straight and narrow inside the film, far and wide inside the score. Straight talking and making of interview with David Lynch, image gallery, 4K restoration trailer, original trailer, and yeah, the movie's brilliant. Own it any way you possibly can, whether it's on this 4K release, one of the previous Blu-ray releases. Heck, if you even have the DVD, like I used to have, own it there. It's such a beautiful movie. It really is, and that's The Straight Story, the David Lynch film from 1999. Truly, it's a remarkable, remarkable work. So that is it, I believe, for... Oh, no, there's one more. I'm thinking that we were done. No, there's one more, and it's a bigger one. Let me go over to New Wave Video. New Wave Video just announced their newest release. That's our buddy John Matthews from Australia, who's been on our channel and Chasing Labels many time, including recently to announce, what's going on over at New Wave Video. And they are moving right along. They're moving right along. And their newest pre-order is one of their newest announcements recently was the movie Nighty. A step into the world of Nighty, a hidden gem of an independent Japanese 8 millimeter film that has been reborn for a new generation of horror enthusiasts. Incredibly fun anthology film proves that bedtime is anything but safe. It presents four twisted tales ranging from bloody birthday parties and deadly video games to surreal transformations. Nighty Night masterfully combines practical effects, imagery, and neon-drenched aesthetic of the mid-80s indie horror of mid 80s indie horror, all set to a pulsating, goblin inspired soundtrack. Fans of Creepshow and Tales from the Dark Side will find themselves right at home with Nighty Night. Yeah, I was going to say it reminded me a lot of Creepshow and those types of horror anthology things from that time period, from the 80s, 90s, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a director approved special edition, transferred and restored from the only surviving videotape master. Dark Fairy Tales, a retrospective documentary on Nighty Night. Lost Media featurette by Lachlan Sale. Full original soundtrack by Save Earth. The Small Pebble short film, 40-page behind the scenes booklet by Hiroshi Kakusha, who's the director, featuring rare photos and in-depth stories. New slipcover artwork by Sydney-based illustrator Janie O'Brien, featuring classy UV/spot gloss. Note the original 8 millimeter film elements are lost. We are working from a tape source which underwent color correction and touch-up. Please see screenshots to get an idea on the quality of the film before purchasing. Yeah, this is going to look rough. There's no way about it. It was already shot on 8 millimeter, which, for those of you who know about film and all of that stuff, 8 millimeter is pretty low grade stuff. Like 8 millimeter is like what you would shoot like your home movies on back in the day. 16 millimeter looks a little rough. 35 millimeter is the standard. You know what I mean? That's what movies were typically shot on all the way up until the digital age if you had a good budget. 70 millimeter they utilize now for things like IMAX and stuff like that. That's the big time. That's the good. That's what Nolan shoots on. You know what I mean? And then when that gets that like Sinners, I believe was shot also on like 70 millimeter and stuff like that. But anywho, 8 millimeter, and they don't even have the 8 millimeter for these. All they have is like the tape masters, so videotape, analog. It's not going to look great. Right now you can actually watch this. If you go to YouTube, you can actually watch it there. It's 75 minutes long. It's not super long, but it's in rough shape. I'm assuming this edition will look a lot better because they were able to actually go in and do something with it, as opposed to just like uploading the VHS tape to YouTube. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's an interesting anthology film. I watched it last night actually. But so that is Nighty Night coming from New Wave Video, and they just officially announced Noriko's Dinner Table, which I've talked about before. The pre-order is up now, and this is like the sequel/companion piece to the movie Suicide Club. And I do want to make mention of some special features on this release. You've got 1080p presentation with 4K restoration of the original picture and sound negatives by New Wave Video. This is for Noriko's Dinner Table, and you have Sono's Dinner Table, a new interview with Sion Sono, introduction by Sion Sono, archival interview with Sion Sono, interview with actress Kazu Fukishi, interview with actress Yuriko Yoshitaka, 30-minute making of documentary. There's a 2006 Tokyo premiere featurette. Special feature, rare behind the scenes photo gallery. There's a booklet featuring essays by film critic and authors Celeste Lacabra, one of my great friends here in the movie collecting realm, someone who's been a supporter here of Chasing Labels from the very, very beginning, and our friend Dustin Putman as well, who's been a fan here of Chasing Labels from the very beginning too. You can find Dustin Putman over on another project we do here of Movie Mutations. He was a contestant or a mutator over on Movie Mutations for the Home Alone episode, I believe. So you can check that out. Also, check out Celeste Lacabra's YouTube channel as well. Yeah, just two great people who've been supporters here of us for a very long time. It's awesome to see people doing cool things like this. It really is. Yeah, so that is the release of Noriko's Dinner Table, as well as Nighty Night by New Wave Video. And yeah, those pre-orders can be taken now on their website, newwavevideo.myshopify.com. Or you can wait until places like Orbit DVD get their allotment, or Diabolic DVD as well. So yeah, that is it. Now we can get back to the slates of it all. We'll go over to Kino now. I went to Kino's website. It's not where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to their Facebook page. Yes, let me go over to their Facebook page, Kino Lorber Studio Classics, and let me talk about some of their releases now. Where did we stop off last time? So let's see. We'll start there with this movie called Scott Joplin, which I did get to watch last night. Now let me scroll down to where it is. Okay. Scrolling. Here it is. Scott Joplin. So I think I put this on a list last time and I didn't talk about it, or maybe the time before, the episode before, but I did not talk about it. But this movie, Scott Joplin, is actually a biopic starring Billy D. Williams. It's the fascinating story about the life of the ragtime great. So he was a ragtime music composer. Best known for his song The Entertainer, Joplin began his career touring as a piano player in bordellos across the country when he is discovered during a piano competition by the famous music publisher John Stark. Joplin turns into an instant success, composing songs so popular that he becomes the first black composer to be allowed to play at the World's Fair. This historic film, directed by Jeremy Paul Kagan, recounts Joplin's determination in the face of racism, his heroic struggle with a debilitating disease, and his ultimate triumph as a composer and musical legend. So I did not know anything about Scott Joplin going into this movie. I went into it completely blind, just as a fan of Billy D. Williams, who would, of course, go on to be in Star Wars as Lando Calrissian in Empire Strikes Back 3 years after this movie came out. Ironically, this movie came out in 1977, the same year as Star Wars. And then 3 years later, we'd get Billy D. Williams in Empire Strikes Back. And 3 years after that, in 1983, he would, of course, reprise his role in The Return of the Jedi. And yeah, I've always been a fan of Billy D. Williams. So this release is coming out February 17th. It's got a new commentary by director Jeremy Kagan, moderated by film historian / filmmaker Daniel Kramer. That's nice. So now we move on. Oh, I mentioned the movie Ray is getting a 4K UHD release. I mentioned it in the previous episode or spine number of Chasing Labels, number 179. But here in episode / spine number 180, we have the details. We have the details. So it's a 2-disc edition. It's coming out February 17th. The first disc, the 4K disc, brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative, approved by the director Taylor Hackford. There's a new commentary by film historian and author Dwayne Epstein, audio commentary by the director Taylor Hackford, and then disc 2 has, of course, the movie. It's got those 2 commentaries, has a director's introduction, stepping into the part featurette, Ray Remembered featurette, The Woman of Ray featurette, The Filmmaker's Journey featurette, Ray: An American Story featurette, A Look Inside Ray featurette, 14 deleted scenes, 9 uncut music performances. I feel like I talked about this last time. I feel like I'm getting a sense of deja vu here. Maybe I'm in the Matrix. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure many of you have seen this movie before. I'm pretty sure many of you own this movie. It was put out by Universal on DVD, on Blu-ray. It's been around for a long time. It's Jamie Foxx's Academy Award-winning performance. And yeah, it's probably the movie he's most well known for. I mean, he's kind of a star. He's definitely a star. So he's probably known for many things, but this is the one where, he won his Oscar for, and he performed all the music for, and all kinds of stuff like that. Please excuse me as I lubricate my eyes. The longer you look at the screen, the faster your eyes tend to dry out, especially if you have chronic dry eyes like myself. But yeah, Universal once again showing that they are one of the major studios to share their catalog with the boutique label world. They've been doing that forever. So next up on the docket is a 4K UHD release. It's coming out February 17th. It's got a new commentary by the director Taylor Hackford. There's a new commentary by film historian and author Dwayne Epstein, audio commentary by the director Taylor Hackford, and then disc 2 has, of course, the movie. It's got those 2 commentaries, has a director's introduction, stepping into the part featurette, Ray Remembered featurette, The Woman of Ray featurette, The Filmmaker's Journey featurette, double feature actually coming out February 14th. We have the Jack Benny comedy classics. You have Artists and Models and Man About Town, one from 1937, the other from 1939. Brand new HD masters from the 2K scans of the 35 millimeter fine grains. There's two audio commentaries. There's one for the Artists and Models by film historian Eddie Von Muller, and one for Man About Town by film historian Paul Anthony Nelson and Lee Zachariah. These are two Benny Hill films. I didn't see either of them, so I can't really comment on if they're good or not. But if you're Benny Hill, Jack Benny, Benny, I got my Bennies confused. So it's a Jack Benny double feature. Um, yeah, so moving on from there, we're getting a 4K UHD upgrade of a Blu-ray they've already put out of Port of Shadows. Port of Shadows is excellent. Very, very good movie. This is the French film from 1938. It's a 2-disc edition. It's coming out February 24th. I have the Blu-ray and I just watched it recently for the first time. Really good movie. Let's see. So the first disc is the 4K UHD. It's got a brand new HDR/Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of a 35 millimeter original camera negative. New audio commentary by film critic and author Simon Abrams. And then the second disc has the movie as well as the audio commentary, but it's got an introduction by professor and film critic Jeanette Vicendo, and then On the Port of Shadows documentary. Yeah, it's an excellent movie. Gene Gabbin's in it, and yeah, it's excellent. I think I talked about it when this was announced. Let's see. Down a foggy, desolate road to the port city of Le Havre travels Jean, an army deserter looking for another chance at life. Fate, however, has a different plan for him when acts of both revenge and kindness turn him into front page news. Port of Shadows starkly portrays an underworld of lonely souls wrestling with their own destinies. A quintessential example of poetic realism, one of the classics of the golden age of French cinema, co-starring the blue-eyed phenomenon Michelle Morgan in her first major role and the menacing Michelle Simon, with stunning cinematography by Eugene Soufton, who shot The Hustler. Okay. Yeah, the movie is very moody. It's very much a precursor to film noir and realism and neo noir. It's really good. It's really good. Next, we've got the movie The Lost Man with starring Sidney Poitier. Now, this is fascinating. Okay, so Sidney Poitier is in this movie. This movie doesn't even have a DVD release. This movie hasn't seen the light of day on physical media, I think, since VHS. Why, you may ask? Because every place I found it online is only available in VHS quality. It's called The Lost Man from 1969. It's a movie where I believe, I saw it. So it's Sidney Poitier plays the leader of this militant, I believe, Black Panthers-esque group of people, and they are trying to pull off a heist in order to, fund their revolutionary ideas and stuff like that. And they attempt to pull off this heist, and things go awry, and the Sidney Poitier character has to then go on the run because now the police are after him, and that's the movie. The movie's a little long. It's like over 2 hours long, and I feel like the movie, pacing-wise, languishes a lot for a movie that's, like I kind of just described, is supposed to be about a man on the run and dealing with political themes of the time and all this kind of stuff. It suffers a bit in the pacing department, but Sidney Poitier is really good in the movie. And I think the ideas are still really solid, and man, I'm hoping this movie looks a heck of a lot better than the quality of what I saw, because I'm surprised that a movie starring Sidney Poitier, it's taken this long to get a decent release. Let's see, it's coming with a brand new HD master from 4K scan with 35 millimeter original camera negative. So, like I just said, I'm hoping it's going to look a heck of a lot better than the VHS quality I saw. Yeah, so let's move along from The Lost Man to a movie I've already talked about, Gregory Peck in MacArthur. So this is coming soon on 4K UHD. This has already gotten Blu-ray releases in the past. This is not exactly an an original film. I believe MacArthur may be from the Universal. Let's see. Yeah, It's from Universal's catalog. So once again, Universal sharing with a boutique label. MacArthur has gotten a Blu-ray release from Universal in 2017. They've gotten a Blu-ray release, I believe, from. I thought Imprint put it out. Hold on, maybe I'm losing my marbles here. Who put out? Hold on. Oh, it got an indicator release. That's what it was. Back in 2021, it got an indicator release. That's why I watched it before. Okay, that explains that. So they haven't listed out any special features yet for it, so I would definitely wait. I'm assuming what sucks is it's getting a 4K release, and I know the indicator release is only Blu-ray, but the indicator release I know is going to have probably better special features. That's just what indicator does. They just make unique, or they get unique special features that other releases typically don't have. That's been their thing for years. It's been their thing for years. But if you don't know, this movie came out in 1977, starring Gregory Peck. He plays the famous general from World War II, Douglas MacArthur, and that this is typically dealing with him during his dealings with the World War II and the Korean War. Yeah, my history degree is intact in my mind. It is. Next, we've got a Kino Cult release. This is Kino Cult number 44. Big 44 here. It says Ilsa, the Tigress of Siberia. If you've been, I guess, collecting these Ilsa films over this time frame, here's another one for you. Coming February 24th, having served the diabolical whims of the Nazis, the singular sadistic Ilsa becomes the overseer of a Stalinist gulag in Ilsa, Tigress of Siberia. Okay, we're going from one bad guy group to another bad guy group. Here you go. Here you go. So let's see what we have here for special features. We got a disc 1 brand new HDR 10 master from a 4K scan, a new audio commentary by film historians Jason Petronsky and Paul Karup. Then the next disc 2, the Blu-ray's got the movie. It's got the new audio commentary. It's got alternate footage intended for a less explicit television version. Sidebar conversation with novelist and critic Tim Lucas and author, artist, and film historian Stephen R. Bissett. That is it. So if you've been collecting these Kino Cult releases, if you've been connecting these Ilsa releases, like I said, this one's probably the next one up for you. Next is another Kino Cult release. Also coming out February 24th is The Stewardess, and it's in 3D. Here you go. So you'll have things, going at you off the screen. Came out in 1969. They don't even give a description of the movie here. So let me see if I can find one. Let me go over to IMDb and look up The Stewardesses. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Stewardesses from 1969. It's got a lovely 3.8 on IMDb. That doesn't bode well. A single eventful night in the lives of a crew of Los Angeles-based trans-Pacific stewardesses as they experiment with drugs and engage in various sexual encounters. Interesting. Kind of reminds me of that Pedro Almodovar film where they're all on the airplane. They all kind of go crazy. I forgot. I have it in my collection. I'm going to look it up right now. Let's see. It's one he did a couple of years ago. Speaking of which, there's another. Oh, I'm so excited. That's the movie from 2013. It reminds me a lot of that, but I'm assuming this is going to be way more exploitative. That's my assumption. Okay, so for special features, we got new audio commentary by author and film historian David Del Val, and producer slash archivist Miles Hunter, How the Stewardesses Took Off, a 2006 documentary on the film's production and release, alternate opening title sequence, outtakes, and lens test footage, Experiment in Love from 1977, which is an erotic short film, Parisian Life, which is a 3D glamour short film from 1953, theatrical trailer, and radio spot. Like I said, this is Kino Cult number 45. This is the movie The Stewardesses from 1969. Then we've got, I don't have to go over this too much, also on February 24th, Peter Sellers' The Early Classics. Now, we've been talking about all of these Peter Sellers releases from Kino, from Studio Canal, and it looks like Kino's kind of just compiled them all into one collection, at least most of them, in my opinion. So this has, let's see, a man in a, actually, I'm just going to read the cover art. This has Man in a Cocked Hat, Two-Way Stretch, I'm All Right, Jack, The Wrong Arm of the Law, and Heavens Above. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Peter Sellers films. You can buy these individually, or you can buy these in this collection. That's what they did with all of the airplane movies. No, the airport movies. Sorry, that's what they're doing with more other Peter Sellers movies. The Pink Panther films. You can buy them individually, or you can buy them in a collection together. Speaking of which, they will be releasing The Return of the Pink Panther on 4K. Let me bring that up now. So The Return of the Pink Panther, which is at least my favorite. So this is coming out March 3rd. Now, they had to release this separately from the others. Remember what I just said a second ago, where you could buy the Pink Panther movies individually from them on 4K or Blu-ray, or you can get it, I think, in a set together. But it was missing this movie. The reason why it's missing this movie is another company owns it. That's the thing. So, wow, they don't even have it on here. But anywho, so March 3rd, they will be releasing The Return of the Pink Panther on 4K. So I can't wait for that. Because I'm going to be rebuying all these again. I own all the Pink Panther movies on DVD. I own them on Blu-ray. I will be owning them in 4K. It's such an integral part of my childhood. Peter Sellers as Inspector Clouseau, the Pink Panther animated series, the Pink Panther franchise, such a big part of my childhood that I have to get. Once again, similar to Tom and Jerry, the Looney Tunes, all those guys, I want them. I want them all. I want them all. When I was a kid, all I wanted was to have all of that stuff, and obviously, as a kid, you don't understand how like home media works. Like, you don't understand how like VHS collections, or at least I'm talking about little, like 3-4 years old. But as an adult, one of my goals has always been to get all of that, basically fulfilling my childhood dreams. That's essentially what I'm doing. and we'll be doing it once again with the Pink Panther. I'm still missing one volume of the Kino of releases of the Pink Panther animated series. I'm missing the last volume. And I don't even know if I can find it on eBay, which is going to drive me insane. So hopefully I'll track that down someday. But anywho, The Return of the Pink Panther is getting a 4K release in March. Mark that on your calendars. But some other Kino releases. Let me see what else I have on my list. Let's see. We talked about that. There's a movie called America 3000 that's getting a Blu-ray release. I know nothing about the movie. I think it's, let's see, America 3000, brand new HD masters from a 2K scans of a 35mm interpositive. In the 31st century, the battles of the sexes turns to an all-out war. Okay, I know what that is. Okay. After 900 years after, so the time, 900 years after a devastating nuclear war, the place, what was once Denver, out of the ashes of civilization, a new tribal society has arisen. Primitive, violent, and dominated by women. Okay, so it takes this idea of the post-apocalyptic patriarchal society, takes those ideas, make them a matriarchal society. So women rule as opposed to men, as we've seen in a lot of dystopian stories. So that's the premise of the movie. Um, Interesting. That's fascinating to me, actually. But this came out in 1986. It's got a brand new HD masters from the 2K scan of 35 millimeter to positive. New audio commentary by writer director David Engelbach, moderated by filmmaker Douglas Hosdale. XXX, new interview with actress Lorraine Landon, and that's it. Okay. There are a couple of other things that are not currently listed on their Facebook page, but that I am aware of. The big one for me is another movie from my childhood is getting a Blu-ray release. Why? Oh, there it is. I misspelled it. So Beethoven, the movie Beethoven, is getting a Blu-ray release from Kino, and I am super excited about that. Because it was announced actually back in January. There was an announcement for it back in January, and there's been no real follow up to it. It just said a new 4K restoration, but it looks like now we are getting some type of concrete info on it. And let me do a quick look see here, because I want to see if I can get any more details on it. Like I said, they don't have it on their Facebook page yet. Nothing. Okay. I even went to the forums over on Blu-ray.com. And actually, you know what? I shared it on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. So I actually did something good. Now I don't have to go track it down. Let me scroll down my. Ah, here it is. So yeah, from our buddy from the Disconnected, Ryan, he posted about it. So coming on March 3rd on Blu-ray in the U.S. from Kino Lorber, Beethoven, the 1992 film. And of course, this is the movie with the family that takes in the Saint Bernard puppy, and the father doesn't really want the dog around, but of course they bond over time. And there's an evil like veterinarian scientist guy. Keep in mind, I haven't seen this movie in 35 years. I haven't seen this movie probably since 1992. I used to watch it all the time too. It's produced by Ivan Reitman. Yeah, it's part of my childhood. But brand new HD master from 2K scan of the 35 millimeter interpositive. New commentary by director Brian Levant. Moderated by filmmaker Douglas Hosdale. New audio commentary by film historian Joe Ramone. Man, I wish they called me to do the commentary for this. But yeah, Beethoven. They made so many sequels to this. Yeah, I remember there was Beethoven, and then the sequel was called Beethoven Second. And in the sequel, he ended up meeting another Saint Bernard, and they ended up having puppies, and the puppies get kidnapped, and the kids got to go rescue it. Yeah, it's a whole thing. There's a lot of dog napping in these two movies, but this was part of those formative movies where dogs were the protagonists or at the center of the plot from my childhood. There was a lot of the Homeward Bound. Then there was Homeward Bound 2 when they were like lost in New York, I think. And then there were other like animated films that centered around animals. All Dogs Go to Heaven, of course, is a big one from my childhood. But there was also all kind of other animal related movies from the 80s, early 90s when I was, super, super young. Being born in 1987, you're kind of in the middle of all of that. And yeah, I watched Beethoven over and over again. I still have the VHS. I never bought the DVDs. I never bought the Blu-ray because this was released on Blu-ray, I think last year or the year before. I was actually just looking at it, and I didn't even look up the date of when it came out. Universal put it out in 2016. Okay, I was way off, way off. I heard the Blu-ray did not look very good too. I heard there were some issues with it. Yeah, it looks like it was not looking good. It came with no special features, so at least we're getting two commentaries here, and hopefully the movie looks a lot better. Yeah, I'm guessing it's from a much older master. I'm guessing Universal didn't do anything with it. Universal, when they don't care and they don't try, the movies don't look. Their catalog movies don't look very good. They're notoriously bad. But when they try and when they care about their releases, them some of their catalog titles can look spectacular. I'll say this to this day. Jaws looks absolutely amazing on Blu-ray and 4K. Some of their other catalog titles from around that era didn't look very good at all. Go back and look at the original release of The Sting, or look at the original release of Dare Hunter and stuff like that. Did not look very good. Weird Science notoriously looked terrible until Arrow got their hands on it. I mean, yeah, so that's just me going off on a tangent here. So that is, I believe, it from Kino. Yeah, and now we can head to our big headliners of the night, of the episode, of the spine number. And we'll talk about Arrow, and then we'll talk about Criterion, and then that will be it. So we are gonna perhaps be under 4 hours. Who knows? Don't jinx me now. Don't jinx it myself. Let's go to Arrow's releases. These are Arrow's releases for March of 2026, and we've got some good stuff. We got some really good stuff. So we've got Red Sonja from 1985. We have Ichi Kudo's Samurai Trilogy, 1963 to 1967. We have Hard Boiled, the John Woo film from 1992, what I consider to be the greatest action movie ever made. Arrow's putting it out. Then we have Spaceballs. Talk about a movie that's formative from my childhood. Spaceballs is one of the first DVDs I ever got. I got Spaceballs on DVD for Christmas, I think in 2000. It was either 2000 or 2001. I think it was 2001. Yeah, it was 2001. And I got a DVD player for Christmas, and I got a couple of DVDs as well. And one of them was Spaceballs, which I still have somewhere. I think I still have it somewhere. It was Spaceballs, Jurassic Park 3, and Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton movie, which had just come out, I believe, that year. I saw it in the theater that year. So I think those were like my first 3 DVDs I ever got. And then later on, I remember getting Gladiator. I remember getting The Count of Monte Cristo. Yeah, and then things escalated from there, obviously. But this is 2001, people. I was 14 years old. 14 years old. But Spaceballs, before then I had seen Spaceballs on VHS so many times because I had rented it. I was obsessed with Star Wars as a kid. I'm obsessed with Star Wars as an adult. And of course, if you've seen Star Wars, you have to have seen Spaceballs, the Mel Brooks film from 1987. It's getting a sequel. They shot it already. It's made already. It's coming out, I'm assuming, next year. But we also have Salem's Lot from 1979. We talked a little bit about Stephen King adaptations earlier with Rob Reiner, and now we have Salem's Lot, which I believe was the second Stephen King adaptation and the first to be a miniseries. So the first adaptation, I believe, of Stephen King's work was Brian De Palma's Carrie, I think. And then the second adaptation of Stephen King's work was Salem's Lot, the TV miniseries from 1979. We'll talk about it. And then we have the movie The Birthday from 2004. We have Black Sunday from 1977, which has gotten a couple of releases already. And then we have Calvaire, which also has, this is its second release too. Yellow Veil Pictures had put out a Region A Blu-ray a couple of years ago, which we talked about here on Chasing Labels. So let's get into Red Sonja, just because that's the first one I have here on the list. So this is a movie that takes place in the same world as Conan the Barbarian. It's based on the Robert E. Howard work. Robert E. Howard, of course, wrote Conan the Barbarian and stuff like that. This movie, was produced by the same people that Conan the Barbarian was produced those movies. I'm jumbling my words here. Dino De Laurentiis, I believe his company. So after the success of both Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, those 2 movies, they wanted to tap into that market once again with Red Sonja. And this time, Dino De Laurentiis casted Dino De Laurentiis cast Bridget Nielsen, who was a model at the time and hadn't acted, I don't think, in anything, or maybe one thing. But this was kind of her debut. She was, like I said, she was a model at the time, and he wanted someone who looked like an Amazon essentially, and he cast her as Red Sonja, and then he brought in Arnold Schwarzenegger not to reprise his role as Conan, but to take on another role which was similar to Conan. And Arnold did it just as a favor to Dino De Laurentiis, and also because he had like a 10-year contract with Dino De Laurentiis' production company at the time. So, like I said, they were together. But it turned out that Arnold was in the movie a lot more than he thought he was going to be, and it kind of pissed him off because he thought he was only going to be there for like a little while, and he was there for like weeks shooting stuff. And he's in the movie probably way more than you would expect. I'll be honest with all of you. I'm not familiar with Red Sonja. I know Conan the Barbarian. I know Conan the Destroyer. I've got the Arrow releases that came out. Was it this past year or last year? I think it was last year. These years kind of just run together for me nowadays. But beautiful, beautiful, stunning releases from Arrow. Honestly, some of the best releases of the year in which they came out. I can't spell Conan right now. Um, yeah, they came out in 2024, so last year. Last year. And I believe it was January of last year. So right at the beginning of 2024, we got Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer on Blu-ray and 4K from Arrow. And like I said, they looked amazing. And you could buy them individually or you can buy them in a collection together. By the time I bought the collection together because they sold out fast. They sold out really fast. Those movies are super popular. And I feel like maybe Red Sonja is going to follow along in that realm. I don't know. Like I said, kind of new to Red Sonja. I had never seen the movie before until now. All I know is I've heard that the movie's not very good. It indeed is not very good. But like I said, honestly, for the longest time, I thought Arnold was in the movie reprising his role as Conan the Barbarian, and he's not. He's another character, which makes it really confusing. And I know why Dino De Laurentiis put him in the movie, so people would think that he's reprising his role as Conan the Barbarian, so that they would go see it and the movie would make money. Well, I don't think the movie actually was a very big success. I think it was actually a box office flop. But I also understand why the movie's, like I said, not very good. It's directed by Richard Fleischer. It was one of the last movies he did, and he was kind of a legendary director. He'd been making movies for decades, just decades and decades. But he also directed Conan the Destroyer. But the movie's not very good. It's the acting is pretty not very. How do I say this? The acting's bad. And I when you're going to a sword and sandal fantasy movie from the 80s, temper your expectations, I guess. But it's like but yet again, even on that level of tempered expectation, it's not great. But it's fun if you're dialed into that world of that era of movies and fantasy movies of that time. So you've got, like I said, Bridget Nielsen as Red Sonja when her family is slain and her homeland destroyed by the tyrannical Queen Gedron. Sonja is chosen by the goddess Shatach and gifted with extraordinary strength and skill in battle. Sworn to vengeance, she embarks on a perilous quest to stop Gedron from wielding a deadly talisman with power to annihilate the world. Thrilling tale of high adventure packed with stunning spectacle and steel-clashing action, backed by an epic score by Maestro Ennio Morricone. Red Sonja is a bold, larger-than-life epic where destiny is forged in fire and blood. They're really hyping it up. They're really hyping it up. I'll say this. I really like Conan the Barbarian, the first film, which was directed by John Milius. I think that movie I really like a lot. Conan the Destroyer, not so much. And Red Sonja, I think, is even below that, in my opinion. But for special features and all these details, let's get into it. 4K restoration from the camera negative with HDR grading by Arrow Films, Dolby Vision and HDR presentation of the film, brand new audio commentary by critic Eugenio Ercolani and Troy Haworth, brand new audio commentary with comic book expert Dave Baxter, The Prince and Me, a newly filmed interview with actor Ernie Reyes Jr. That was Ernie Reyes Jr. I was wondering. He plays the little kid in the movie, the little prince. Sword Stunts and Sonia, a newly filmed interview with Action Unit Supervisor Vic Armstrong. The Last of the Invincibles, a newly filmed interview with Schwarzenegger's stunt double Pietro Torrisi. The Danish Girl, sorry, a newly filmed interview with stuntman Ottaviano Dell'Acqua. Yeah, the 12 Labors of Red Sonja, a newly filmed interview with assistant production manager Stefano Spadoni, the Marvel of Primitive Technology, a newly filmed interview with FX artist Domingo Lozano discussing the work of Emilio Ruiz del Rio, Molding Fantasies, a newly filmed interview with makeup effects assistant Adriano Carboni, Bodybuilding the Imagery, an archival unreleased interview with poster artist Renato Casaro, uh, let's see. The Man Who Raised Hollywood, an archival feature on Schwarzenegger's career featuring filmmakers Peter Hyams and Arthur Allen Seidelman, producer Edward Pressman, and others. Red Sonja vs. Calidor, The Making of a Misunderstanding, an archival interview with assistant director Michelle Ferry. Yeah, Calidor is the Arnold Schwarzenegger character in the movie. And then you get theatrical trailer, image gallery, and then, of course, you get all the extra goodies you get with the limited edition releases, like reversible sleeve artwork, and you get the reversible poster, the double-sided poster, and then the art cards and stuff. Now, these are all coming out in March. This is coming out March 24th, specifically the release of Red Sonja. Like I said, if you got Conan the Barbarian, if you got Conan the Destroyer, you probably may want to get Red Sonja, but I can understand why it has such a bad reputation of not being a good movie. Because it's not. Let's see. So now we have Ichio Kudo's Samurai Revolution trilogy. Now I only got to see 1 out of 3 of these movies, so that's kind of what I'll concentrate on the most. So let's read this here. Throughout Japanese cinema, the image of the noble samurai righting wrongs, katana in hand, remained a fixture of the Jitageki. Boy, I probably butchered that. Jitageki genre with the authoritarianism and corruption of the country's medieval past often attenuated for the sake of spectacle and entertainment. But in the 1960s, director Ichi Kudo's Samurai Revolution trilogy shattered the idealized conception of the samurai, providing an authentic and scathing portrayal of Japan's tyrannical past to question the social and political landscape of his day. Beginning in 1963 with 13 Assassins, remade in 2010 by Takashi Miike, followed by The Great Killing in 1964 and 11 Samurai in 1967, the Samurai Revolution trilogy depicts the rot of the heart of the Tokugawa shogunate. Despotic lords oppress their people and abuse their power with impunity. Loyalty to the shogun is valued above compassion and righteousness, and samurai have shed any trace of nobility in favor of their own interests, which they pursue with gleeful cruelty. Each film portrays a group of honorable samurai driven to plan the political assassination of a corrupt lord, hoping to light the fuse that will eventually destroy the regime. But the rebels must understand the fatal consequence of their mission. Should the shogun falter, then their lives and entire samurai class will be forfeit. That's a lot going on there. Whoever wrote that paragraph put a lot of information there. So you've got these movies about these essentially revolutionary samurais who fought back against political corruption, against cruelty of their time, against oppression of their time, and that's what these movies are. They are. I've only seen the first movie. I've only seen 13 Assassins, and I've seen, of course, its remake in 2010 by Takashi Miike, which is an amazing movie. That movie is incredible. Every time I bring up Takashi Miike on here, I always bring up 13 Assassins because I recommend it to everyone. But the movie from 1963 it's the same premise, but obviously it's 1963. It can't be as bloody, it can't be as violent, it can't be as, doesn't have the modern day filmmaking capabilities that Takashi Miike had. Also, Takashi Miike has his own sensibilities as a director, as a filmmaker. But either way, it's still a really good movie. It's still damn good. So with that being said, as soon as I watched that and I was like, okay, this is excellent, I was like, I don't need to watch the second and third because I know they're going to be good. Or at least I'm on that level where like I want to see them and I want to buy this box set eventually. So that's probably what I'm going to do. But for special features, it's a 3 disc set. Disc 1, 13 Assassins. Disc 2, The Great Killing. Disc 3, 11 Samurai. Disc 1, brand new audio commentary by film critic and Japanese cinema expert Tom Mess. And then you have the Samurai Variations, a brand new video essay by music supervisor and Japanese cinema expert James Balmont on legendary composer Akira Ifukube's score for the film. Then you have Samurai Gorilla Part 1, an archival interview with Ichi Kudo's former assistant director Misao Arai and filmmaker Dirty Kudo discuss Ichi Kudo and Toei's role in the Japanese film landscape of the 1960s. There's a lot going on there. Disc 2, The Great Killing, brand new audio commentary by film critic David West. Magician of Light and Shadow, a brand new video essay by film critic and Japanese expert Daisuke Miyao on the cinematography scene in the film. You have Samurai Gorilla Part 2, an archival interview that's just continuing from the first part. Then you have Masaki Ito remembers Ichi Kudo, a tribute to the director by former assistant and brother-in-law. Then you have Disc 3, 11 Samurai, brand new audio commentary by film critic David West. Then you've got Fighting the Poison, a brand new video essay by film critic and Japanese cinema expert Jonathan Clements on the historical setting and context of the film. Samurai Gorilla Part 3, continuing that interview. Then you have Ichi Kudo, The Art of Realism, an archival interview with Fabrice Arduini, filmmaker and programmer for the House of Culture of Japan in Paris, where he discusses Jitageki and the films of Ichi Kudo. So that is this incredible box set of Ichi Kudo's Samurai Revolution trilogy. And I believe though it's just a Blu-ray box set. Yeah, it's not a 4K. But what is a 4K is Hard Boiled. Now, I don't have to explain this to many of you because many of you probably know the movie. It's starring Chow Yun-fat. And yeah, it's like I said, I think it's the greatest action movie ever made. So with that being said, I'm not going to even explain the plot. It's the greatest action movie ever made, in my opinion. So you get 2 disc edition. The first disc 1 is the 4K restoration of the film, Dolby Vision, that's the HDR presentation of the film. You get brand new audio commentary with director John Woo and film journalist Drew Taylor, brand new audio commentary with film historian Frank Zhang, audio commentary with director John Woo and producer Terrence Chang, archival audio commentary with John Woo, Terrence Chang, film critic Dave Keir, and filmmaker Roger Avery. So that is 4 commentaries and deleted and extended scenes and original trailers. And then disc 2, you have Violet Night, a brand new interview with John Woo, Boiling Over, a brand new interview with actor Anthony Wong, No Room for a Failure, a brand new interview with Terrence Chang, Hard to Resist, a brand new interview with screenwriter Gordon Chan, Boiled to Perfection, a brand new interview with the screenwriter Chan Hing Ka, Body Count Blues, a brand new interview with composer Michael Gibbs, Gung Fu Fever, a brand new interview with author Leon Hunt, American Cinematique 2025 Q&A with John Woo, and then Test of Time, an archival documentary featuring interviews with John Woo, Terrence Chang, editor David Woo, actor/stunt coordinator Philip Kwok, original interview with actors Chow Yun-fat and Tony Leung. Yeah, so this is a monumental, beautiful release. I know people who've been collecting these Shout Factory releases. I believe Hard Boiled just came out, so people probably have those in their collections already. I am insanely jealous. I have to wait now until when am I having to wait till March to get this released? Yep, I have to wait till March 30th to get my copy of Hard Boiled because I'm getting all of the Arrow releases of the Golden Princess films. So yeah, I'll be waiting right along because I believe Peking Opera Blues just got announced from Arrow. Obviously Hard Boiled just got announced. So I just got City on Fire. So I have to be patient. Which I am not a patient person when it comes to buying movies. I hate having to wait, but I'll suffer for the cause. Let's see. That is, like I said, that's hard boiled. Then we have Spaceballs. It's the Mel Brooks satire parody of Star Wars. That's all you need to know. Uh, this has been released on 4K in the past. It still actually is in print. There's a 4K UHD release of the movie from Kino. It's been available for several years. If you have that movie with the slipcover, hold on to it for dear life because that slipcover is so damn expensive. That thing triples the value of the release. The release itself, you can get for like $20. If you go on eBay and try to get the you try to get it with a slipcover, it's like 100. It's insane. It's crazy what a slipcover can do to the value of a release. But this release from Arrow, which I guess now that's the one. This is the one I'm going to get. Uh, has the Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, original lossless 2.0 stereo. You have original 70 millimeter 6-track mix in DTS Master 4.1 sound. Wow, that's a lot going there. Optional remixed 5.1 DTS HD Master surround audio. So you have 3 audio tracks you can choose from. And then you've got an audio commentary by writer, producer, director, actor Mel Brooks. Audio comment. I just read that. You have Spaceballs, a documentary, an in-depth look at the movie, the making of the movie. You have Force Yourself, Spaceballs, and the Screwing of Sci-Fi, a featurette in which Mel Brooks looks back on the making of the film. In conversation, Mel Brooks and Thomas Meehan. Conversation between the two writers about the film's genesis. John Candy, Comic Spirit, a retrospective look at the life and career of the late comedian. Oh, that's nice. Archival behind-the-scenes featurette, storyboard to film comparison, film flubs, a numerous look at the film's goofs and continuity errors. Watch Spaceballs in ludicrous speed, Moggies and Dinkies, alien soundtrack extracts, exhibitor trailer with introduction by Mel Brooks, theatrical trailer and teaser trailer, Spaceballs behind the movie photos, the costume gallery, the art gallery, image gallery, reversible sleeve featuring 2 choices of original artwork, double-sided fold-out poster, and 4 postcard size art cards. Now, let me do what I typically do and take a look at the Kino release of Spaceballs because I'm curious if we get all of the special features or if they are different. So let's see. So the release from Kino came out in 2021. I remember being, rather stacked. Let's see. It looks like it has all the same special features. Yeah, I think it has all the same special features. Okay. At least I'm just doing a tangential quick look. I'm not doing like line by line here. I'm not doing it with I'm not doing it with a fine-tooth comb. Anywho, it looks like it all has the same major special features, so that's good. So you're not really missing out on much, I think. Anywho, let's move on to Salem's Lot. Now, this is a big upgrade. So Salem's Lot's been available on Blu-ray here for the longest time. I see this every single year at every single Halloween horror sale in every single store and online. It's seemingly available all the time. So the Blu-ray came out in 2016, and from what I understand, it looks fine. It came out from Warner Brothers, and the only thing on there is that I think the only special feature is that it has an audio commentary by Toby Hooper, who directed it. So let's see. So this is the like I said, the Stephen King TV miniseries adaptation of Salem's Lot. It's one of the earlier Stephen King novels. Like I said, it's the second adaptation of a Stephen King work. I read the book in 2019, so I read it about 6 years ago or so. And yeah, it's good. It's a classic. It's a classic Stephen King work. I think if you're getting into Stephen King, I would say read Carrie first, and then maybe Salem's Lot right after that. That's how I did it. But Toby Hooper directed this, and like I said, it's a TV miniseries from the late '70s. Don't go into it expecting a lot. It's not like TV miniseries now. It's not like TV movies now. It's not like TV series now. It's not TV back in the '70s. A lot different in terms of budget and production, quality of actors, quality of writing. Massively different world. Massively different world. So this movie is kind of fascinating from, I think, a historical perspective in that regard for me. But this centers around the character of Ben Mears, who is an author who basically goes back to his hometown of Salem's Lot, or as the book calls it, Jerusalem's Lot. Obviously, the shorter version is Salem's Lot, but he's become like a famous author, and he goes back to his small hometown in you guessed it, Maine, and he he's fascinated about this house, the Marston house, because something traumatic happened there when he was a kid, and he believes it's haunted, and he wants to write a book about this haunted house essentially. But he gets to this town, and somebody's already bought it and is presumably living there. But there's something mysterious about this person. His name is what's his name? Count Barlow or Kurt Barlow? That's his name. I think it's Kurt Barlow. And it's this super mysterious character who's opening up this antique shop in town. He's got this assistant called Richard Straker, who's portrayed by James Mason of all people in the movie. And and there's just a lot of mystery going around. And what keeps happening is people end up dying in kind of mysterious ways in this small town, and it gets more suspicious and more suspicious. Like, like, like random deaths keep happening, and all of the bodies keep coming back with the same type of issues and wounds and things like that. So, and needless to say, he starts investigating it. He and a local doctor start investigating it, and all this kind of stuff. Lo and behold, it's vampirism that's going on here, and there's this person who has moved into this Marston house, Mr. Barlow, is a vampire, and he is feeding on people on the town. Not only is he feeding on people, they're turning others into vampires as well. He's creating a vampire army, people. We got to do something about this. Anywho, that's the movie. The vampire notoriously is only in this movie for 90 seconds, and the miniseries is combined is about 3 hours long. So 90 seconds into 3 hours, you don't get a lot of the villain in here. So it's mostly atmosphere, build up, creepiness early. Needless to say, they didn't have a lot to utilize in terms of special effects back in the late '70s. So I know this movie is a favorite amongst many people because it was kind of their first exposure to Stephen King's horror and Stephen King's creepiness and his work and all that kind of stuff. So I know a lot of people like it for that. And to be honest, there was another adaptation of it done a year ago, a movie adaptation of it that was like under 2 hours long. And I don't think you can do this book in a 2-hour movie unless you truncate it down significantly. So when it comes to Stephen King's longer work, TV series and TV miniseries are the best adaptations of it, in my opinion. We just saw it with we had it. Well, it was another one that was originally a TV miniseries in the '90s, and then we ended up getting 2 movies to adapt the book It recently, and then we have It Welcome to Derry, which is kind of a spin-off of the movies. But needless to say, I'm trying to say that Stephen King's work and Stephen King's plots and things like that work so much better in TV show form or TV miniseries form, in my opinion. I know they've done many an adaptation of his work over the years. We've talked about it several times. I mean, we just talked a bit about Misery and Stand By Me earlier with Rob Reiner's work. I've read The Stand, and I know there's been a couple of adaptations of The Stand. I know they're working on a TV adaptation of Carrie. I believe Mike Flanagan is doing that, and I know Mike Flanagan wants to do it properly. The Dark Tower series. We got a Dark Tower movie, but it's not good. It's not even close to what the Dark Tower series is at all. But anywho, back to the task at hand. Um, there this this edition of Salem's Lot is coming out in 4K. There's the new 4K restoration of both the original two-part miniseries and the shorter theatrical cut distributed internationally. It's presented in Dolby Vision and HDR presentations of both cuts. And then disc one is the original TV miniseries version. It's two viewing modes: play as a miniseries in two parts, as per the original broadcast, or as an extended movie. That's the way I watched it, just one long movie. There's a brand new audio commentary by film critics Bill Ackerman and Amanda Reyes, archive audio commentary by director Toby Hooper, alternate TV footage, commercial bumpers, and original broadcast version of the Antlers Death. There's a disc two, there's a theatrical version, and extras. Brand new audio commentary by film critic Chris Alexander, King of the Vampires, a new interview with Stephen King biographer Douglas Winter, Second Coming, a new appreciation by author and critic Grady Hendrix, New England Nosferatu, a new interview with filmmaker Mick Garris, Fear Lives Here, a new featurette looking at locations of Salem's Lot today. I think they shot it in California, actually. We Can All Be Heroes, a new featurette with film critic Heather Wixson, co-author of In Search of Darkness, a gold standard for small screen screams, a new featurette with film critic Joe Lipset and Trace Thurman, co-host of the podcast Horror Queers. Okay, so many more special features compared to the Blu-ray release put out by Warner Brothers back in 2016. So this is coming out March 31st in the US and Canada and March 30th in the UK. Then we have the movie The Birthday on 4K. Now, this is a weird movie. This is a weird, crazy movie starring Corey Feldman. You can stream this movie now on Shudder, if you have the Shudder streaming service, the all horror streaming service. Painfully awkward Norman Forrester, Corey Feldman, chooses the opulent birthday party of his girlfriend, Allison. The birthday party of his girlfriend Allison's wealthy father as the perfect moment to propose, but between bizarre encounters with guests and unnerving polite hotel staff, Norman stumbles into a nightmarish occult conspiracy that threatens not just his relationship but the fate of the world itself. This is a weird, crazy, awkward, just unhinged movie where Corey Feldman is playing this kind of weird guy with not a big stretch for Corey Feldman, but whatever, of Norman Forrester, who goes to his girlfriend's father's birthday party that's being held at this hotel ballroom. And it just gets incredibly weirder and weirder as the night goes along. There may be some occult things, end of the world stuff going on. It's an oddball of a movie. Really, the movie's all over the place tonally, and it feels like an episode of The Twilight Zone, but just unhinged, like dialed up to 11. And apparently I was reading on Letterboxd that Jordan Peele is a big fan of this movie. And if you've seen Jordan Peele's work of both Get Out, as well as Us, as well as his other film, which I'm Nope, you can understand where he gets the why he likes this movie so much. And yeah, it's odd movie. Let me read the rest of this here. So, rediscovered at last, The Birthday blends screwball comedy, cosmic horror, and feverish style into an unforgettable cinematic experience restored from the original negative. Arrow Video is proud to present the one-of-a-kind descent into madness in the release it's always deserved. 4K restoration from the original camera negative, Dolby Vision HDR presentation of the film, audio commentary by actor Corey Feldman and co-writer slash director Eugenio Mira. The Shape of a Miracle, a brand new interview with Mira shots exclusively for this release. Pathology, an in-depth breakdown of a scene from the film by Mira featuring archival behind-the-scenes footage, storyboards, and rushes. 2024 Q&A with Feldman and Mira from the film's 20th anniversary screening at Fantastic Fest in Austin, Texas. Original trailer, 20th anniversary trailer, image gallery, reversible sleeve featuring 2 original artwork options, and a collector's booklet. So that's the movie The Birthday in 4K. Then you have Black Sunday. So Black Sunday's already been released by Arrow. So this is just, I think this is, let me check. I want to say, yeah, they released it in 2023 as a US release, and now they're releasing it in March as a UK release. Okay, right on. So this is the, I would say, political thriller. Yeah, it's a political thriller. Yeah. Throughout the 1970s, a wave of daring, disastrous movies gripped cinemagoers with their combination of bravura spectacle and ripped from the headlines plot lines. Among these, John Frankenheimer's Black Sunday endures to this day as among the cream of the crop. Um, okay. John Frankenheimer is no stranger to um, politically themed thrilling movies, The Manchurian Candidate being high amongst them. So, Robert Shaw stars as Major Kabakov, an Israeli agent attempting to avert a terrorist atrocity on U.S. soil. The weapon, a blimp laced with explosives and piloted by Michael Lander, portrayed by Bruce Dern, a troubled Vietnam vet driven to strike back against the nation he believes has betrayed him. The target, the Orange Bowl Stadium in Miami. What follows is a nail-biting race against time, culminating in a spectacular aerial climax that will determine the fate of 80,000 spectators. Okay, what this doesn't tell you is that the Bruce Stern character is being manipulated by an agent from, I believe, a Palestinian terrorist group. Keep in mind, it's the 1970s, and they've convinced him to pull off this attack at the Super Bowl that's being played at the Orange Bowl in Miami, and Robert Shaw is one of the Mossad agents who is Robert Shaw's Mossad agent is kind of baffling me, but whatever, I'm going with it. Who's in charge of the investigation to kind of figure this out. And that's the movie. Adapted from the best-selling debut novel by Thomas Harris. So Thomas Harris wrote The Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, Hannibal Rising, that Thomas Harris, and featuring virtuoso performances by a cast headlined by Bruce Dern, Robert Shaw, and Martha Keller, who was in Marathon Man. Black Sunday is a nerve-shredding, best-in-class suspense thriller from a filmmaker at the top of his game. I love John Frankenheimer, so I kind of agree with that. The movie is very good, actually. For a movie being a political thriller in the 1970s, dealing with things that we're still dealing with today, politically, of course, and culturally, it's kind of fascinating. It really is kind of a fascinating film. So we have a high definition presentation of the movie. So this is only on Blu-ray. I think they're essentially just re-releasing their same edition that they came out with in the US, in the UK. So high definition presentation. Let's see. Audio commentary by film scholar Josh Nelson. It Could Be Tomorrow, a visual essay by critic Sergio Angelini, exploring the film's adaptation and production and its place within the pantheon of 70s terrorism thrillers. The directors, John Frankenheimer, an hour-long portrait of the director from 2003, including interviews with Frankenheimer, Kirk Douglas, Samuel L. Jackson, Roy Scheider, Rod Steiger, and others. Yeah. All right. Last here for Arrow is the movie Calvaire. Like I said, the movie Calvaire also already has a Blu-ray release here in the US by Yellow Veil Pictures, I believe. Traveling cab racer Mark Stevens finds himself stranded when his van breaks down in a remote mountain region in France, but is rescued by a local innkeeper, Mr. Bartel, who offers to help Mark fix his van and give him shelter for the night. But Bartel is fragile and unstable, and Mark reminds him of his long-lost wife. Soon, Bartel is refusing to let Mark leave, with his van sabotaged and no means of calling for help. Mark's ordeal is about to begin. It's one of those movies where you're caught in the wrong place at the wrong time with a mentally unhinged person, essentially. It's one of those films. So, for special features, high definition presentation of the movie, archival audio commentary by director Fabrice Duwise, Audio commentary by Fabrice Duwise and production designer Manu de du oh boy du oh boy Manu Demulmeister. I butchered that. Brand new audio commentary by film critics BJ and Harmony Colangelo. Introduction by director Fabrice Duwise. Oh, that's Fabrice Duwell. Sorry, my eyes are absolutely gone. Staring at a screen for this long is not good for my eyes. Let's see. 2005 and 2023 archive interview with Fabrice Duwells. The Feminine Mystique of Calvaire, a brand new appreciation by film scholar Willow Caitlin McClay. Auteur de Cavalier de Calvaire, an archive making a featurette previously unreleased in English-speaking territories. Okay. Theatrical grade version, storyboard to scene comparisons, casting tapes, production Bible, A Wonderful Love, a short film by Fabrice Duwells, trailers, image galleries, reversible sleeve, collector's booklet, coming out March 2nd. Okay, now that is it for Arrow. That was a lot to go over. That's a lot. Thank you for all sticking with me. So we've got Red Sonja, Ichikudo's Samurai Revolution Trilogy, Hard Boiled, Spaceballs, Salem's Lot, The Birthday, Black Sunday, and Calvaire, all coming from Arrow Video in March of 2026. Okay, that took like 45 minutes. Now let's go over to Criterion. That is how we will end this episode, and that's how we will end the year, ironically so. I mean, such big fans of Criterion here at Chasing Labels. I've got stacks of Criterions around me. So for March of 2026, Criterion has a slate, a good slate. We have The Blade, A Man and a Woman, Killers of the Flower Moon, Classe du Risque, Testament, and Viridiana. Okay, so let's work backwards here. So we'll start with Viridiana. Viridiana is a Louis Buñuel film. It's a Louis Buñuel film that they've only had available on DVD for years, literal years. I want to say this DVD of Viridiana came out probably in the 2000s. I remember seeing this when I first started collecting Criterions at the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale in like 2011. So this DVD came out in 2006. So from 2006 until March of 2026, 20 years, it's only been available from Criterion on DVD. Now, this has been available from Radiance. I'm pointing over in the Radiance section, for those of you wondering what I'm pointing at, in their Louis Buñuel box set that they put out. Did they put that out this year? Let me look. Let's see. Nothing is Sacred. Oh, they came out last year, towards the end of last year. So their Nothing is Sacred, 3 Heresies by Louis Buñuel box set. They put Viridiana out on Blu-ray. So it's been available on Blu-ray as of last year, but not from Criterion. So this is a 4K UHD Blu-ray special edition. This movie is excellent. Excellent, especially if you're someone like myself, who likes exploring the hypocrisies of religion and the hypocrisies of theology. Louis Buñuel is your guy. He's the one for you. Banned in Spain and denounced by the Vatican upon its premiere. You got me already. That's what I love to hear. Louis Buñuel's irreverent vision of life as a beggar's banquet is regarded by many as his masterpiece. I do agree with that. In it, novice nun Viridiana does her utmost to maintain her Catholic principles, but her lecherous uncle and a motley assemblage of paupers force her to confront the limits of her idealism. Winner of the Palme d'Or at the 1961 Cannes Film Festival, Viridiana is as audacious today as ever. That is all true. It is excellent. It is as important and as profound as it was back in 1961 as it is today in terms of poking fun at the hypocrisies within the idealism of organized religion, specifically from this perspective of Christianity, which that's a whole can of worms to get into. But like I said, great, excellent movie. Now, for special, it looks like they're just carrying over what was on the DVD. Breaks my absolute heart here. So let's see, new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed binaural soundtrack, one 4K UHD disc of the film, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. Interview with actor Sylvia Pinal and film scholar Richard Porton. Excerpts from a 1964 episode of Cinéaste de Notre Temps on director Louis Buñuel's early release. Now let me go get my DVD because I'm pretty sure it's just the same stuff, which is kind of heartbreaking. Okay. Put this back on, put my headphones back on. So here is the old DVD that I've had for many, many a year here. They're using the same exact cover art that they've used for the DVD. And it looks like excerpts from a 1964 episode of Cinéaste de Notre Temps on Louis Buñuel's early career, new video interview with actress Sylvia Pinal and author Richard Porton. So it's the same exact features from 2006. Okay. I wish there was other stuff, but as you can see here, the old DVD, I might as well open it up. We got time. Here's the DVD. Here's the booklet. Nice booklet. I'm hoping they... Actually, let me check. I'm assuming they're going to keep the booklet. Let's see. It says, plus an essay by film critic Michael Wood and an interview with Louis Buñuel. Let me see if that's in here. Let's see. Yep. The Human Comedy by Michael Wood and Buñuel interview The Return to Spain. Those are both in this booklet here, and then that will be brought over to the 4K UHD / Blu-ray release. Okay. Now, let me take a quick gander over at Radiance. We got time. I got all the time in the world. I'm in a time machine. Let's see. Let me go over to Radiance's website. Okay. I'm just looking at the special features. Yeah, so I'm gonna eventually get this box set. This is the Nothing is Sacred 3 Heresies by Louis Buñuel box set from Radiance. And it does have like significantly more special features. But it's mostly, obviously there's 3 films in that set, so it's gonna be a mix in terms of like what movies they're talking about. But obviously Viridiana will come up. There's an audio commentary on Viridiana by film critic Michael Brook. That's specifically for Viridiana. And then there's a lot of other things just about Louis Buñuel and his career and his life and stuff like that. So if you already have that Radiant set, I think you're pretty well off. But if you're a Criterion completist, you may want to get the Criterion as well. But it's not something I'm going to jump out at and get right away. So let's move on from Viridiana. Let's move on to Testament. Okay, since we're working backwards. So Testament is a movie that has already come out on Blu-ray, actually, because I remember watching it. I remember talking about it here. And this is the movie with, let's see, where are you? It's got an alternate title. Let me check IMDb. Because it has an alternate title. So 1983. Yeah, Kevin Costner's in this movie. A small role. Why am I forgetting? Maybe I'm losing my mind. I thought it had an alternate title. I can't find it. Anywho, let me forget that idea. I had an idea that I was trying to find out. I guess not. Okay, so there was another Blu-ray release. Um, I thought the other Blu-ray release was under the alternate title or under an alternate title, but no, it's just called Testament. So Imprint put this out in 2022. That's when I watched it. Okay, so Testament. Let's see. Taking a hauntingly intimate approach to an often sensationalized subject, the Singular Testament depicts one family's daily life in the wake of a nuclear devastation. After an atomic attack near her small California town, Carol Weatherly, Jane Alexander, in a fearlessly vulnerable Oscar-nominated performance, must find the strength to care for her three children as the family contended with radiation sickness and the realization that their close-knit community will never be the same. With a diaristic focus on the emotional toll of unimaginable events, director Lynn Lippman puts forth a wrenchingly humane vision of what it means to go on living in a shattered world. So obviously, this movie is um, commenting on the threat of nuclear attack, which was a constant threat throughout the Cold War between the United States and the USSR, the Soviet Union, from basically the end of World War II all the way up until the collapse of the Soviet Union in what 1991, somewhere around there. Um, so yeah, so this movie is one of many films that depict that event or depict a what if scenario if that event would occur. We saw, there's some other movies like let's see, what other movies are there like that? There's like Threads and The Day After, movies like that. Miracle Mile is another one, which is one of my favorites. But yeah, this movie is yeah. This movie also stars like William Devane is in the film. Like I said, Kevin Costner's in the movie in a small role. It's his early part of his career, 1983. Like I said, and let's see, this movie has a new 4K digital restoration supervised and approved by director Lynn Lippman and director of photography Stephen Poster with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. New conversation between Lippman and author Sam Wasson. Two documentaries by Lippman made in collaboration with anthropologist Barbara Meyerhoff. Number Our Days from 1976 and In Her Own Time from 1985. Testament at 20 and Nuclear Thoughts, archival programs featuring interviews with cast and crew members and nuclear science experts, audio recording of actor Jane Alexander reading the short story The Last Testament on which the film is based. And then you get a theatrical trailer, and then there's an essay by author and film curator Michael Korsky. So that is the movie Testament. And then we have when's that coming out? So we've got Viridiana's coming out March 10th, and Testament is coming out March 17th. Now, also on March 17th, you have Classe du Risque. Classe du Risque is a movie. I'll read it here. It's also the English translation is The Big Risk. That's the English title. After hiding out in Milan for nearly a decade, fugitive gangland chief Abel Davos, Lino Ventura, sneaks back to Paris with his children despite a death sentence hanging over his head. Accompanied by appointed guardian Eric Stark, Jean-Paul Belmondo, fresh off his star turn in Breathless, and beset by backstabbing former friends, Abel begins a throat-grabbing, soul-searching journey through the post-war Parisian underworld. A character study of a career criminal at the end of his rope and this rugged noir from Claude Sauté is a highlight of 1960s French cinema. It is actually. It came out in 1960, so right around the French New Wave time, although it's not a French New Wave film. It's more of a traditional French film of the time, but it is very good. Very good film. It is the movie about this former criminal who, I guess, he comes back to the town with his family, and things immediately go south for him. And he's essentially has to hide out from the law for the rest of the movie. And that's yeah, that's it. And it's really, really good. I really liked it a lot. Let's see, for special features, new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed binaural soundtrack, one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. Excerpts from Claude Sauté, Ulam, Ulamaji Invisible, a 2003 documentary on the director by N.T. Bin and Dominique Rabordin, interview with Classe du Risque's novelist and co-screenwriter Jose Giovanni, archival interview footage featuring actor Lino Ventura discussing his career. And I believe this movie has been part of the collection before. Yeah, it was spy number 434. So it's been part of the collection for quite a while. So it's not a new release; it's an upgrade. I'm assuming from the DVD. And like I said, it's coming out March 17th on 4K UHD as well as Blu-ray. Good, really good French film, like excellent French film. So we're moving on from there. I'm going to save the big one for last. That would be for me personally. That is Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon. The fact that it's finally getting a release is a goddamn miracle. So we'll talk about A Man and a Woman because A Man and a Woman is an incredible artistic film. So, Claude Lelouch's Academy Award-winning international sensation is a paragon of swooning cinematic romanticism and 1960s chic. Against the rain-swept backdrop of the Normandy coast, two widowed single parents, race car driver Jean-Louis, who is Jean-Louis Trintignant, and film script supervisor Anne, who is Anouk Ami, or Amie, and find themselves falling for each other, but are they ready to move on from the shadows of their former lovers? Reveling in its star's chemistry and unfolding as a sublime swirl of shifting film stocks, swirling camera work and time and space collapsing editing, all set to Francis Lay's unforgettable score, A Man and a Woman endures as one of the most intoxicating love stories ever told. So that's selling it a little bit hard, but I get it. It is a beautiful artistic piece of filmmaking that is at its heart a love story. At its heart, it is a relationship about these two people who share something in common. They are both widows. You know, one is a widow, one is a widower, as the saying goes, and they both have young children who are the same, I believe, the same age, and both of their significant others, previous significant others, uh, died rather tragically, and they come together and they have this kind of, I guess you could say, whirlwind romance, this connection with one another, obviously from those perspectives, but just in general love, general connection, human to human connection. But the question is, as the movie says, are both of these people ready to move on with their lives? Are they ready to, you know, pursue other romances? Or are they still hung up? I'd say hung up, that's such a negative term, but are they still attached to their previous significant others who are, of course, now gone? And that's a different situation than a divorce or a breakup. You know, death is different because you have grief involved in that. And so, are these two still in the grieving process, and are they able to move on from that process, or at least move, or at least temper the grief enough to move on with their lives? And so the movie is asking a lot of those questions. I don't think it ever really gives an answer to any of those big life questions because there oftentimes are not answers to those big life questions. You kind of have to experience it for yourself, and sometimes there is no answer. It's just not there. You know, especially with grief. I feel like we carry grief uh, throughout our entire lives, no matter what, in some amount. There's always going to be there in within your being, no matter what. Um, and the movie cinematically, just aesthetically, is stunning, beautiful, beautiful. ethereal, dreamlike moments reminds me a lot of the early parts of Wings of Desire, like narrative and just imagery and thoughts just flowing. Really beautiful, beautiful stuff. I love the movie a lot, actually. I really like it. It's something that's not for everyone, but for my like art house avant-garde loving heart, it's for me. It's definitely for me. So for special features, we have new 2K digital restoration supervised and approved by director Claude Lelouch with uncompressed binaural soundtrack. New interview with Lelouch, a making of documentary shot on location, archival footage of Lelouch at the Cannes Film Festival from 1966. Um, C'était un rendezvous, a short film by Lelouch with a new introduction by the director. That's from 1976. And then trailers, plus an essay by film critic, or by critic Carrie Rickey. Uh, and that is it. That is a man and a woman. Definitely something I really do want. Then we have the movie The Blade. And now this is dope. This movie's awesome. Directed by Sui Hark. I don't think has had. Oh no, Sui Hark directed the Once Upon a Time in China, Once Upon a Time in China 2, Once Upon a Time in China 3, Once Upon a Time in China 5. So if you have the complete um, Once Upon a Time in China box set from Criterion, you've got some of his work. But The Blade is awesome. Among the boldest accomplishment of Hong Kong cinema's golden age, this uniquely visceral martial arts movie puts a gritty new spin on the story of the one-armed swordsman, an iconic figure from the moment he was introduced by the Shaw Brothers studio in 1967. I was wondering if there was a connection there. Because it felt like that. Composed in a whirlwind of immersive close-ups and fractured editing, The Blade follows the young sword maker Ding On, who after losing an arm in an ambush transforms himself into a furious avenger. With its intentionally disorienting style and starkly brutal tone, The Blade was a rare commercial disappointment for Sui Hark, but it has since been reclaimed as one of the director's most radical visions, a tour de force of action expressionism and a scathing reappraisal of the wuxia genre's code of masculinity that achieves feverish intensity. Yeah, the movie's awesome. um, Specifically awesome from an editing, stylized action perspective. In my opinion, it's awesome. The story is kind of what it is for me personally. Um, but either way, I really dug the movie a lot. Um, let's see, came out in 1995. And let's see, new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed binaural soundtrack, one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR, and one Blu-ray with the film and special features. New audio commentary featuring Hong Kong cinema expert and producer Frank Zhang. Um, Action et Verite, a documentary featuring director Zui Hark, co-screener Kon Hui, and actor Zhang Jinjin. A new video essay by filmmakers Taylor Ramos and Tony Zhu. From Every Frame of Painting, New York Asian Film Festival Q&A with Sui from 2011, alternate English dubbed track, English version opening and end sequence into the trailer, plus an essay by author Lisa Morton. And yeah, that's the movie The Blade. Yeah, like I said, movie's awesome. Movie's awesome. Let's see. I think that's going to get us to our final film, and that will be Killers of the Flower Moon, the Martin Scorsese film, which I'm so glad is finally getting a physical media release. This is his movie from 2023. Currently, his most current film. Obviously, if you're listening to this in the future, or you're watching this in the future, he's perhaps made another movie by this point. But as of December 22nd or 23rd of 2025, this is Martin Scorsese's newest film, and this is, in my opinion, an excellent film. So, Killers of the Flower Moon, an epic elegy of greed, betrayal, and murder, Martin Scorsese's masterly adaptation of David Grant's true crime bestseller unfolds in 1920s Oklahoma, where the discovery of oil brings extraordinary wealth to the Osage people. Into their world comes ne'er-do-well Army veteran Ernest Burkhart, Leonardo DiCaprio, who joins his duplicitous uncle Robert, portrayed by Robert De Niro, in a horrifying scheme to rob the Osage of their money and land. Lily Gladstone charges the film with her transcendent performance as Burkhart's Osage wife, as Burkhart's O'Shea's wife, Molly Kyle, gradually awakening to the evil that surrounds her. With Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese brings a dark chapter of American history to the screen with gripping narrative, power, and profound feeling for the weight of systemic injustice. Now, this is the movie that was produced by Apple. So we never thought that this would get a release, at least not as soon as this. I know it got a release overseas in France. Um, but that was a region locked disc, if I recall. And this will be the region A premiere on disc. Now, the reason why we didn't think it would get a release here anytime soon is because Apple notoriously doesn't put their movies on physical media. They really don't. Not, I'm thinking, at least not their movies. I mean, F1. I say that, and F1. Where do I have it? Thought I had it next to. Oh, I don't know where I put it. I actually think it's behind me. Yeah. So F1, the movie, is a co-production between Apple and Warner Brothers. I think that's why it got a physical media release. Is its connection to Warner Brothers? Because if this was a straight up Apple movie, I don't think this would have gotten a Blu-ray or 4K release. But either way, the fact that we're finally getting Killers of the Flower Moon is a goddamn miracle. Like I said, I'm so damn happy, so damn happy. So, if you don't know anything about me, I am a Martin Scorsese super fan. To me, he's my movie god. He is the living embodiment of cinema in every stretch of the imagination. His not only through his work, but his mind and his love of movies is on a level that I don't that is aspiring. You know what I mean? You aspire to be that level of a lover of movies, as Martin Scorsese is. So for this release, there's a new 4K digital master approved by director Martin Scorsese with Dolby Atmos soundtrack. There's one 4K UHD disc of the film presented in Dolby Vision HDR and two Blu-rays with the film and special features. So there's a new documentary featuring Scorsese actors Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, author David Gran, Osage Nation Principal Chief Jeffrey Standing Bear, Osage Cultural and Consultant John Williams, editor Thelma Schoonmaker, and other members of the cast and crew. Wazazi, A Song for the Osage, a new documentary illuminating the film's final shot, featuring Scorsese, Chief Standing Bear, and 6 members of the Osage Nation. Excerpted archival interview with director of photography Rodrigo Prieto. Excerpts from the 2023 Cannes Film Festival press conference featuring Scorsese, DiCaprio, Gladstone, Chief Standing Bear, and actor Robert De Niro. Short program on Noah Kamoa's cover art. There's a trailer, and then there's an essays by critic Vincent Cunningham and film programmer Adam Perron. Adam Perron, we've had here before. We've had him on Chasing Labels before. So that's really cool. That's a nice little Chasing Labels connection to a Martin Scorsese Criterion release. Nice. So that is it for Criterion for March. Like I said, obviously the big old headliner there for Martin Scorsese lovers like myself is Killers of the Flower Moon finally getting a physical media release. You have The Blade, you have A Man and a Woman, you have Classe du Risque, and you have Viridiana. Killers of the Flower Moon is coming out March 24th, and The Blade is coming out March 31st, and A Man and a Woman is coming out March 31st as well. So that is it, I believe, for Chasing Labels episode or spine number 180. For those of you who have joined me here tonight live, thank you all for joining me here. For those of you watching the rewatch here on the YouTube channel for Chasing Labels, thank you as well. Those of you just listening on audio, the audio can be found not only here on YouTube, but the audio can be found on like Apple Podcasts and Google and Spotify, places like that. Also, things that are going on here on Chasing Labels. We have the Unwatched Pile coming up on, I believe, Tuesday the 30th will be our Unwatched Pile episode. We just had an episode of Movies Down Memory Lane where we talked about the Richard Curtis film About Time. And we, of course, have our reviews of some of the December releases from Criterion. Coincidentally, I just talked about Criterion. We have some reviews here currently up on the YouTube channel for some Criterion releases from this month, including two from myself of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the 4K UHD release of the Tim Burton film, as well as the Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger film I Know Where I'm Going, which actually also has an introduction of the restoration by Martin Scorsese, who I just talked about as well. And yeah, we've got that up here. If you don't see it on the regular videos list of videos, check out the live videos. That seems to be where a lot of these videos end up. I kind of hate how YouTube does that, how they separate the live videos from the regular videos. So I guess maybe people don't see those things. I don't know. YouTube is kind of a mess these days, but it is what it is. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for all the support here. 2025 for Chasing Labels has been a heck of a year. It's been a real heck of a year. We talked with Sean Baker earlier this year. I took over the show here primarily by myself, doing the main flagship show here. So that's been a heck of a journey for me as well. So thank you again for all the support. And hey, keep on watching those movies because I know I will.